This catastrophe can't be avoided. Why do you have to put in more hands? At the moment of meeting the spirit, he said this to the two beasts. But that sentence made the two beasts look bad. It's very brave of you to wait for a mortal in the fairyland to speculate on the secret of heaven. It's not like you're angry. Don't talk to him. It's important to stop that piece. Non-dragon and phoenix beast quickly said. Alas, charm suddenly heaves a sigh. The world says that I don't know how to cherish blessings and I'm too crazy. In fact, I want to say that it's your God who is superior to you. He doesn't care about blessings. It's clear that everyone is happy, but he just wants to kill. As soon as the words fall, the charming figure is already in the air. At that moment, his eyes closed, and a very strange force emanated from his body, the ultimate pure light. Also at that moment, the aura of heaven and earth around, like a more crazy surging up, towards the two people of Yunwu. He has no power to stop the two beasts. In this case, let's try our best to leave and help them. Also as the original cloud danced to do those things compensation. Damn it, you're trying to kill yourself. Don't commit suicide. The two beasts never thought that the appearance of the charm was not to stop them, but to help the two pieces. What's the matter with all the people in this world? Clearly know that the world is about to face a catastrophe, but not only do not stop, but also to protect and help the sacrifice. However, at that moment, a strong light burst out from the charm. The pure power of light suddenly enveloped the sky. May, what are you doing? In the heart, suddenly came the long-ching evil angry voice. This is the voice of mutual exchange. Under the light, the charm of the handsome face raised a touch of radiance, but the smile is more ugly than crying. Cherish the time between you. The only thing I can do is this. Don't feel sorry. This is my relief. Yes, this may be his relief. After living alone for 300 years, I finally got to this day. It's enough. It's enough. For 300 years, every day and night has been a torment to him. Now, at last, I can see her very happy. Say sorry to Yunwu for me. The last sentence is getting weaker, magic. The cry of dragon's evil spirit never got any answer. The enchanted body shrouded by the light, under the dissipation of the extreme light, began to break with the wind. Finally, it turned into a dust and disappeared on the earth. This scene happened too fast. There was no chance for people to react at all. The charming figure disappeared, and the strong light in mid-air was fading away. However, at the moment when the light dissipated, the dark and bright light on Yunwu and Longqingxi lit up. Two rays of light entangled together, gradually rising. Like a pillar of light, it soars to the sky. At that moment, the two beasts finally reacted and their faces changed greatly. No. But the two words just called out, the light column has rushed into the vast sky. Silence. At that moment, all the sounds around seemed to stop. A space of terrible silence enveloped the whole earth. But it only lasted a few seconds. Random, a mighty afterwave from the air, boom. Thunder? No, it's a kind of shaking sound like the sky is about to fall down, and the sound above the sky is rippling like waves. Everyone looked up at the sky under the light column. Boom. Just after another loud noise, a dazzling color light seemed to leak out from a crack in the sky. Extremely beautiful. However, it also has a very strange burning feeling. It hurts. Ah. People on the earth, at that moment, seemed to be in a kind of suffering. There was a howl of misery. However, the crack in the sky is bigger and bigger, and the colorful light is more and more dazzling. Just when people thought they were going to die under the colorful light, the light that pierced the sky in mid-air suddenly burst out. The color light is dispersed by the force in the burst. The dragon in the pillar of light was dancing with the clouds. At that moment, it seemed that it was exhausted and fell from the sky. Little 5. Evil. Little dance. Master. Seeing this, Nangong-yi and others jump up in the air to catch them. When they saw the crack in the sky, they seemed to be angered. How can you break the way of heaven? You are really not afraid of death. Okay, go back with me and stand trial. Without giving Nangong-yi and others a chance, the two beasts first stop Yunwu and Longqingxi. And it seems that they are also afraid that the physical strength of the two pieces will recover, and the two beasts will not care about the others after they receive them. Immediately turned into two aurora, extremely fast sky. In the twinkling of an eye disappeared in the crack of the sky. Cloud dance. Nangong-yi and other people's faces change and shout, but there is nothing they can do. As for those demons who have just seen the sun, they are even more confused. What's the situation? Aren't those two beasts meant to stop them? How could this blink of an eye not only ignore them, but also leave like this? The demons still continue to come out of the black hole, but they are the first to come out and see the demons in that scene. But I still don't understand the situation. However, they know that the adult who helped them break the seal has been arrested. Grandma's bear, they haven't touched a human yet, so the Protoss is too arrogant. Did they catch their adults as soon as they appeared? Magic Company is the leader of the demons. When he saw the moment Yunwu was captured, he was actually a little excited, because in that way, he could not be unscrupulous. However, the little conscience in his heart made him uncomfortable. Protoss, too arrogant. Little ones, you should be more agile. When you're ready, let's go to the divine world first. The crack in the sky is the way to enter the divine world. What does it mean to be forced to open the door of heaven? Others may not understand it for a while, but for the demons, they know what it means. Now that the door of heaven is open, they will go to the divine world first. By the way, let's see what the Protoss want to do with them, my lord. Yes, Malian suddenly felt that he wanted to try the taste of Protoss more than kill human beings. And the gods within the Protoss. His face became very ugly and angry because the way of heaven was forced to open. These two pieces, not only don't obey the order to stop the demons and destroy the devouring Protoss, but also join hands to break the way of heaven. This is a rebellion. Just as the demons want to climb the way of heaven and go to the divine world, Tianjiang is very angry. It rained all over the sky and began to fall from the sky. It's like trying to stop it with flood. But that action, created another kind of disaster in the world, in the request but not, it is to promote the world to the Protoss big resentment rise. God depends on people to worship and revere. Once there is resentment, this is the beginning of the evil in the divine world. However, at this time, it is still later. What happened at this time was a picture of the demon people planning to enter the heaven and the divine world, and the sky was raining heavily. Damn it, these Protoss want to use the flood to prevent us from entering the divine world. Yes, the Protoss is stupid enough. We demons won't be afraid of this, but the Terrans are different. Isn't this a sin of our own? That is, even if we can stop our steps for a while, the price is too high. The discussion of the demons spread quickly. However, the two people in the fairyland and the elves fell into another confrontation. Yes, it's confrontation. Dealing with the opposition of the demons. Unfortunately, in the face of the hostile behavior of the fairyland people, the demon people are just like a nobody. They just refer to the gossiping on the rainy day. In fact, they are not unable to sense the hostility of the people in the fairyland. However, they promised Yunwu that they would not kill themselves. So, they won't do it first, but once they do it first, they won't be polite. It's not for no reason that the demons will be afraid of being sealed by the Protoss. Lord, what should we do now? Do you want to fight or not? Elder Yuguishan, I really don't know what's going on now. I can't help asking my own patriarch. What happened during this period is really beyond their understanding. The war between the two factions, the seal of the demons broken, the invasion of the demons, the awakening of the beast, but in the end, it was not the picture they imagined what way of heaven was opened, but the original guard of the two groups of beasts left on the spot, and the legend of the ferocious demon people. But it's just like a common man like a bumpkin. There's no so-called ferocity. On the contrary, they are more like normal people than they are not calm. What's going on? But no one will answer them. Yuzuki is also very complicated at this time. Looking at this scene, he also fell into an inexplicable meditation. Are the demons, as the Protoss said, harmful to the world? At this point, they are just like ordinary people. On the other side, even the Dark Cloud Palace side of the court also fell into a tangle at the same time. This fight or not? They don't know the strength of the demons. They just know that the demons in the rumor are ferocious and represent evil. Can see now, that a gossip home, to them indifferent of the demons, where there is a little bit of the so-called ferocious awe. For a moment, they don't know whether to do it or not. As for the elves. But they also fell into a different mood. It was not that they were struggling with whether to fight, but that they had just heard the news from the elders of the clan. This one, they can't do it. Yes, the elders of their clan have been closed to the 4 old men for some time. Unexpectedly, but in this checkpoint, the elders went out. Moreover, there was news that they could not do it. Just let them watch. Once the demons enter the way of heaven, they will follow them back to the Protoss. As for the reason, the elders did not explain. Therefore, for a moment, the fairyland fell into such a triangle situation. However, their entanglement did not affect Nangong-yi. They have been taken up. What shall we do? With our strength, we can't go up to heaven and enter the divine world. Do we just watch and do nothing? No, I feel that they are in a lot of trouble. Besides, without any backup, we can't do nothing. Yes, we can't do nothing. Nangonji, can't you predict something? You said, what can we do to help them? Yes, just think about what we can do. Nangong-yi was asked by them one by one, and he began to meditate. In fact, with their strength, the fairyland can be regarded as the limit, not to mention the divine world. What has happened since the war against the Beast Gate is more and more beyond their ability. Even if they are anxious and want to help, they seem to have no way to start. This kind of feeling is really bad. They are the companions of life and death, and they are indispensable companions in life. It really frustrates them to let them know that they are in danger, but they can't help it. But even so, they can't stand by. If the strength is limited, we should try our best to do it. Since the breakthrough of Nangong-yi's strength, his third eye has been closed. It's not that he can't use it, but there's no time to use it. Maybe now is the time. Let me see what the way of heaven is first. With that, Nangong-yi looks up at the crack in the sky. At that moment, a crack suddenly opened on his smooth forehead, and an eye suddenly opened from his forehead. Under his third eye, there will be no escape for any person or thing. But now, with the third eye to see the way of heaven, I don't know if it can be useful. After half a ring. When Shengguan and others saw that he had been holding his head up, they were anxious not to buy it. How's it going? Did you see anything? Don't rush him, he needs some time, he said. However, just under her words, Nangong-yi suddenly has a movement. Inexplicable, a dull hum, the body a shock, Nangong-yi suddenly lowered his head. What's the matter? Praying that night was a little worried, he quickly reached out to help him. Shengguan and others also found something wrong, worried and asked, what's the matter? Are you all right? Nangong-yi raised his hand and shook it. After a long time, he raised his head. However, the blood stain on his forehead is not negligible. People's faces changed greatly. Nangongji, your eyes. Nangong-yi's eyes are red, but he can still see them, but his third eye is, it's okay. There are still 2 eyes to see. Light but a word, but let people understand what meaning. His third eye, abandoned. What the hell happened? How could your eyes suddenly look like this? Yes, what happened? All of a sudden, people were obviously worried. Nangong-yi wiped the bloodstain on his forehead. He saw that there was only one scar left in the original eye-opening position. It was very deep and shocking. To tell you the truth, everyone took a breath when they saw his wound. How could that be? What happened just now? It's clear that there's no movement. How can it suddenly? It's nothing. It's just that when I want to see the way of heaven, it seems that I was found, and the Protoss took back my third eye. In fact, he didn't say it. Just now, he seemed to have heard a saying that the Protoss said that they would punish their family. Beloved of the Protoss. That is the divination skill of their Nangong family, including his third eye. Damn it, don't the Protoss declare that we are their puppets? If you don't like it, you're going to kill us all. That's a damn bad feeling. That's right. Anyway, I'm alone now. I have the ability to let them come to me. My life is saved by Cloud Dance. I'm not afraid of death. The Shangguan was angry. Meng Bai and others are also dignified. Despite their words, reality has to be considered. Protoss, can they really resist? The answer, in fact, is in everyone's mind. Let's go back to the upper bound first, I think. Nangong Yi suddenly said to his companion. But, without waiting for others to speak, Nangong Yi continued to explain, Long Qingxie gave the child to us for protection. The first thing we should do is to protect the child first. Yes, they have a baby in their arms. Shangguan held the young master and looked down at him subconsciously. What he wanted to refute could only be kept silent. In addition, with our current strength, we can't help at all here. It's better to return to our home court. I believe that the reason why Protoss become Protoss must be supported by the other three realms, and our home court is just the human realm and the upper realm. Therefore, the only bargaining chip we can fight against Protoss is the human realm and the upper realm. As long as they can grasp the two realms when necessary, with the power of the two realms, they will certainly play some role. And that function is the best support for Cloud Dance and Dragon's Evil. If they stay in this fairyland, they have no strength to do anything here. Even if they can do something, they will not shake the Protoss. Moreover, the demons have been born, which is enough to involve the Protoss. We will go back to our home court, and then try to unite the three worlds. Nangong Yi's last words completely made everyone submit. Yes, they can't do anything with their strength alone. Okay. Then they go back to the upper world and the human world. We'll be right back. Yes, after everyone agreed, Nangong Yi didn't delay a minute and a half. A few people on the rapid direction of departure. When Yuzigi thought of the bright sun in their arms, their figure had disappeared for a long time. Divine World. Sure enough, the Divine World is totally different from the three realms. Picturesque scenery, for seasons like spring, full of flowers, green hills and streams, lush vegetation, but the house, all as one kind, floats above the cloud, each characteristic house. For example, it's made of rattan or crystal even, there are some more European-style fortresses. After being brought into the Divine World by Si Xiang Xiang and Fei Feng Long, Yun Wu and Long pour out evil spirits. In fact, they wake up early. However, because the consumed physical strength is still recovering, so they are very calm, lying on the back of the beast, quietly looking at the surrounding environment. Yes, both of them were still holding hands when they fell, so they were both lying on their backs. Of course, including the little fat girl in the arms of Cloud Dance. Are you afraid? Cloud Dance slightly slants ahead, looking at the man nearby to ask such a sentence. At this time, Long Qingxie's handsome and evil face, because of the complete darkness, appears to have some yin qi, but it still does not damage his evil beauty. Hearing the sound, the corners of his mouth slightly raised, his head, deep black eyes died, gently looking at the two women lying beside him. He took her hand and held it tightly for a few minutes. A rather hoarse voice said softly, "What I fear most is that I don't have you." Cloud Dance smell speech, grin, because of awakening and beautiful face more and more dazzling, "Is it? Me too. I'm afraid of nothing more than you." "Mom, what about me?" Hear them two greasy crooked dialogue of little fat girl, didn't hear mother say oneself, cannot quite satisfied with the mouth. This little light bulb is on at the right time. Cloud dance and dragon pour evil smell speech, all tacit understanding of sea to her. Long Qingxie stretched out his hand and rubbed her little head. You can talk, but I haven't heard you call me yet. The little fat girl was a little kid. She looked at him with her big eyes and asked carefully, Are you afraid of me? This sentence let Cloud dance a burst of laughter and tears. What do you think of this girl? Long Qingxie grinned, obviously very happy about his daughter's problems. Of course, you are my daughter. Of course, my father is afraid that something will happen to his daughter. Well, this answer always feels different from Num. But fat chicks don't understand. Hesitated for a while, just reluctantly agreed to nod, all right, Daddy. As a young and glutinous father, Long Qingxie feels that his heart is about to melt. The softness in his eyes, almost even he found. Cloud dance but all see in the eyes, heart warm, this kind of feeling, good. However, it seems that this is not a warm time for a family. Because, the little fat girl together into the whole divine world, I'm afraid the Protoss will take her first. Is there any way to send my daughter to a safe place first? Dragon Qing Evil looked to Cloud Dance of Ask Away. Cloud Dance pondered for a while, then nodded, there is a place, but I don't know if it will affect her. Where? Hearing that, I don't know if it will have an impact, the dragon tilts evil and frowns solemnly. The space of the past. The space of the future is too much, so we can only return to the space of the past. I hope they can solve the problem here as soon as possible, then they can get it back as soon as possible. In that case, there should be no problem, right? However, Long Qingxie was surprised to hear that. The space of the past. At this time, it's not the time to explain in detail, so Yunwu came close to him and gave a brief explanation. Okay, just send her over. After hearing this, Long Qingxie made a decision immediately. Actually, do they have any other choice now? No. If you really take the children with you, I'm afraid the Protoss will have more chips to blackmail them. How can Yunwu not understand his mind? So, after he nodded, Yunwu secretly took out the Book of Heaven in his own space. Yes. It's the Book of Heaven on the other side of Joyo. The book that sent her to the future. Of course, there is a story about what happened. Now it's not convenient to explain. However, at this time, the Book of Heaven did not appear as a little girl, but directly opened the space of the past with the hand of Cloud Dance. Wait a minute. Just when Cloud Dance plans to send little fat girl in directly, Long Qingxie suddenly thinks of something to interrupt. What's the matter? We have to hurry up. The Book of Heaven belongs to the divine world. I'm afraid it will be discovered by the Protoss. Cloud Dance quickly said. Long Qingxie nodded and looked at his daughter. Daughter, you should remember your future name, Long Qingai, your younger brother's name, Long Qinggu, which means your mother, is my lifelong love. Finish saying, also didn't wait for the little fat girl to be able to remember, personally put her into that open heavenly book. The light is blooming. When Yunwu heard his words, his heart jumped, and the softness in his eyes almost turned into water. She didn't give her child a name just to give it to his father. I didn't expect him to be so numb. But she likes it. However, the tenderness did not last long. Because, at that moment, a light arrow flying in the air suddenly came towards them. Be careful. Damn it, the two sounds of Dragon Qing Xia and Cloud Dance are not pretending to be in a coma. The two of them reach out to resist the light arrow. In the process of sending to the past space, we must not be disturbed. Otherwise, if there is any mistake, it is really fatal. But soon their faces changed. Because the light arrow actually passed through their spiritual power of resistance, yes, it passed without any obstacles and fell on the light of the heavenly book. At that moment, the light in the Book of Heaven began to dissipate, as if something had shaken. Nyo. Daughter. Dragon Qing Evil with Cloud Dance cry, accompanied by panic want to quickly pull back his daughter. But it's still a little late. Little fat girl's figure dissipated in the light and was sent to an unknown place. However, after the light disappeared, the Book of Heaven fell from the sky and its color became dim. It seems that the Book of Heaven has also been damaged to some extent. Cloud danced even if the inner ups and downs aroused great, but also in the first time to put away the Book of Heaven. Because only the Book of Heaven can bring her daughter back. At this time, too. Not Dragon and Phoenix suddenly stopped, for unlike also flying close. The breath of artifact? Damn it, they have artifact. There was a chagrin in the voice of the two beasts. They seem to blame themselves for finding out now. However, it is not the two beasts that make Yunwu and Longqingxi coldly alert. It's the man standing in a cloud, like a god. He was dressed in strong white clothes, holding a long anger, and there was a pale totem between his eyebrows. He looked down on them as if he had no emotion. It looks like they are a mole ant. If before, Cloud Dance and Dragon may have some emotions. However, in the face of this Protoss, they seem to have a feeling of infinite reverence and worship. This is the so-called Protoss. God. Standing on the cloud, holding the long angry sky trace, quietly overlooking the two humans brought up by the beast. He is the guardian god of the Protoss, named Tianqian. He didn't remember how old he was. Anyway, after countless years, he only remembered that he was guarding the Protoss, the guardian of the Protoss gate in the mouth of the gods. So, after they entered the Protoss, he followed them all the way. He saw what they said and did. Originally, he disdained to attack two human beings. After all, the nobility of the God of Heaven, how can we do it for the two lower human beings? Unexpectedly, these two human beings carry Protoss artifacts. So, just as they were driving the artifact, he did it. But when he saw them, he realized that these two were the humans who made the old Protoss angry in recent days. It is said that the destruction of the barrier of the Way of Heaven and the Way of Heaven are due to these two human beings. Interesting. After thousands of years of lonely life, I finally have a little fun. So, after he shot the first arrow, he didn't shoot. He just stood on the cloud and looked at them carefully. He wanted to see what was special about these two human beings. A man and a woman are young, but they even have children. It depends on the situation, like the relationship between husband and wife in human beings. Just these two human beings, how can those old men be so angry? I don't understand. However, when the two beasts with Cloud Dance and Dragon's evil spirits saw the god above the cloud, they bowed their heads and exchanged a respectful voice. General Tianqian. Well, who are these two? The sky trace that still light and have no emotion of voice asked away. The voice came out as empty as 9 days away. Yunwu and Longqingxi also looked up at the man, quietly and carefully. His light arrow, let them not even resist ability. Such a god is terrible. If all the gods are such forces, can they really resist? After hearing this, Si Xiangxiang and Fei Longfeng all answered in one voice, it's the human that the emperor wants. Emperor? Hearing the answer, Tianqian was not surprised. In other words, he was used to expressionless and calm. It seems that for a long time nothing can arouse his emotion. So, after hearing the words, he spoke faintly, these two people are the two who break through the Way of Heaven? Yes, get the answer. The trace also no longer asked what, in the air brushed his hand, indicating that they can go. However, he is still standing on the clouds, with the light wind, not far away from the follow. Dragon Qingxia and Cloud Dance look at each other. No mouth, seems to know each other's mind. At this time, it's definitely not the time to make a move. However, they did not intend to escape halfway. This time, they should see the so-called Protoss, right? They want to see what these high Protoss are like. And the answer, soon came. Half an hour. All the way continuous beauty, finally half an hour later, gradually replaced by a sea. Yes. There is no wave of the ocean, the vast cannot see to the end, and on that vast sea, floating a very spacious palace. Resplendent floating hanging, rainbow around in the sky, nameless flowers and trees, dotted with the palace. It makes the whole palace look more comfortable. However, the invisible majesty has not been reduced at all. As soon as you enter the sea area, you will feel an inexplicable force of oppression. A kind of oppression that seems to make them feel that they have to give in, which makes them dislike. But no matter how they repel it, it seems that they can't get rid of it. In that momentum, they were taken to the palace. The trace of heaven follows. General Tianqian. Along the way, as long as you meet the Protoss, you will respectfully call to the mark that day. In this way, the dragon and Cloud Dance will examine the Protoss again. It seems that his identity is very important in this Protoss. It's a pity that he didn't say a word all the way, except that he opened his mouth at the beginning. On the contrary, the two beasts were more talkative. After entering the palace, the two beasts turned into human figures. They were both male, and they were tall and handsome. For Cloud Dance and Dragon, they didn't bind them. That is to say, it's a little cold. Come on, no ink. Finally, in that half-urging, the five came to a main hall in the palace. The spacious hall is luxurious and elegant. Smooth marble floor, light surrounded by a layer of white fog, there is a sense of fairyland. However, this is the divine world. It's not surprising to have this kind of affectation. In the empty hall, after 5 people came in, it was so quiet. Until, a body appears. Emperor the two beasts immediately knelt down on one knee and called respectfully. And the god of heaven, also made a standard ceremony, but did not speak. The visitor, as if accustomed to this, gently brushed his hand and said, "Get up." The two beasts just got up. But then, he retreated to the bottom of both sides. And the trace of heaven retreated to one side. The dragon's evil spirit and Cloud Dance are very abrupt here. At this time, Yunwu and Longqingxi can see what people look like. They have fair skin, handsome facial features and are quite tall and strong. Wearing that golden robe, the hair ornament is also luxurious, which is a gem. It looks like it's in its early 30s. Is this the emperor they call him? However, in the divine world, what is the status of Emperor Zun? Even General Tianqian would salute. It seems that his rank is much higher than that of general. You are the witch saint and dark emperor in the world. Low and dignified voice, as if very ordinary general asked. However, an invisible force came to them with the voice. Dragon Qingxie suddenly pulls Yunwu into his back and quickly arouses a dark force to resist. When he saw the power of exploration under the resistance, he was quietly relieved. Okay. Fortunately, not all the Protoss have the same strength as the mark of that day. They don't even have the ability to resist. You are so brave that you dare to resist even the power of our emperor? The man, known as Emperor Zun, suddenly had a cold voice, and a strange wave of power suddenly set off on the main hall. The power of the dragon changed the face of the dragon and cloud. It seems that the Protoss can't be underestimated. Is it too humiliating for the Emperor of the Protoss to take action against the two of us? The sound of dragon's faint evil sounds. He didn't show the fear of submission, but still kept the attitude he just had. Cloud Dance is protected by him behind, there is no difference. How can she wipe his face when the man protects himself so much? At this time, she will see what the Emperor of the Protoss wants to do. In the future, she does not have the so-called Emperor. So, she didn't know about it. I knew your eloquence was good at the beginning, but I didn't expect that you were still so eloquent after being born for several generations. Emperor Zun is sitting on the main position of the main hall. He suddenly looks at the dragon and says. That makes people confused. He means, was he above the Protoss in the last life? Long Qingxie frowned and looked at him. Do you mean that I was originally a Protoss? Emperor Zun didn't seem to be quite satisfied with his understanding. He raised his hand nobly with a smile. He brushed the two beasts and motioned them to withdraw. Seeing this, the two beasts naturally retreated. As for Tianqian, he still keeps his standing posture, and has no intention of quitting. When Emperor Zun saw this, he was just like him. You were originally a Protoss, but you thought you had made some mistakes in those years. Therefore, you were punished by the former emperor and entered into reincarnation. You can return to the Protoss one day when you have completed your service. Former emperor. From then on, the emperor is the ruler of the Protoss. Long Qingxie hasn't made a response yet. Cloud Dance picks eyebrows instead, walks out slightly from Long Qingxie's side, and looks up at the man above the hall. Seems to notice the line of sight of Cloud Dance, Emperor Zun's dignified and handsome face, slightly raised up. Long time no see, little one. This sentence, however, is like the sound of nails cutting through the glass, which is extremely frightening and makes people get goosebumps in an instant. What do you mean? Long time no see. She met him. No, isn't that a bullshit past life? In this regard, Yunwu's eyebrows wrinkled up. Obviously, he didn't like this very much. Long Qingxie also frowned and looked at the emperor. Little guy is my exclusive name. He doesn't like the way other men call his women. Of course, this is not the time to discuss this issue. However, when the emperor heard the speech, he laughed as if he had heard something interesting. But what's so funny about that? I don't know. Both Yunwu and Long Qingxie feel speechless. Well, I won't tease you anymore. I'll explain the identities of the two of you clearly, but before that, I want to ask you a question. This time, the emperor did not call himself the emperor. It seems that they are trying to get closer to each other. What's the problem? Do you know what will happen when you open the seal of the demon clan? This problem may be unknown to Long Qingxie. But Cloud Dance is very clear. Therefore, Yunwu did not stand behind the dragon, but walked out and even approached the emperor. Lift eyes, clear phoenix eyes on the emperor. Although she wanted to bend her knees to the emperor, she still stood upright. Does your problem have anything to do with us? Of course it does. If you don't know, I can deal with it lightly. But if you know, it's another matter. When Emperor Zun said this, he chuckled. But a few people on the scene can feel that his smile is just a fake smile. An emperor's expression is enough to show his attitude. Cloud Dance see this, also hook lips a smile, also smile not to reach the fundus of the eye. Is it? That's a pity, we don't know the consequences, however, we will not regret, even know the consequences, we'll still choose to break the seal. You can represent both of you? Emperor Zun's eyes narrowed slightly. Of course, he said, good. It seems that even if you two reincarnate for many generations, you still can't change your rebellious and stubborn. It seems that this time, I will be wrong again. The emperor suddenly sighed. I don't know why, I always feel that after his words are finished, he seems to be several years old in an instant. What happens to the Protoss? It's strange. Emperor, you haven't said their identities yet. At this time, did not expect to open the mouth is that day mark. The theater goer is more anxious than the protagonist. Of course, he was born with the same facial paralysis and ruthlessness, and there was no emotion in his handsome face. When Emperor Zun heard the words, it was just like noticing the existence of the mark that day. A touch of helplessness dyed his eyes, inexplicably shaking his head, he then got up from the position, turned away. You're leaving. Why did he go away like this before chatting? Don't deal with them. Emperor, you haven't said what to do with us yet. Cloud Dance opened her mouth and called. Look, since ancient times, I'm afraid she is the only one who asks people to deal with herself. Emperor Zun stopped, but did not look back. I can't bear to deal with you, but someone will come. Then he left. To tell you the truth, his behavior is a little puzzling. Isn't he Emperor Zun? Isn't it the leader of this Protoss? But when Yunwu saw some old men, accompanied by a man in a golden dragon robe, he came in. Yunwu realized that the leader of the Protoss was someone else. When I hear Tianqin call Tianzuan, Yunwu and Longqing realized that the ruler of the Protoss was the god. Tianzuan's appearance is very similar to that of the emperor just now. He is handsome and upright, but a little more solemn than the emperor. It gives people a serious sense of dignity. As for those old men, they are kind-hearted, as if they were all good people. However, I don't know why, when Yunwoo saw those old men, he felt a repulsion of listening to them. She didn't know why, but it was an instinctive reaction. It's okay for Long Qingxie. The evil and evil eyes, after looking at several people that day, stepped forward and came to Yunwoo. Reach out, quietly pull her in his side. Are you the witch saint and the dark emperor? Majestic voice, no words and laughter. Several old men stood on both sides of Tianzuan, watching them with a serious look. Long Qingxie said, yes, we are. I don't know what's the matter with heaven asking people to bring us to the Protoss. Tianzuan narrowed his eyes and looked at the dragon for a long time. Then he said, you two are so bold. You dare to break through the seal of the demon family, but you dare to break through the gate of heaven. Dragon Qingxie slightly brings Cloud Dance behind him, and looks at the celestial being with a smile. I don't know what the celestial being is going to do with us. Well, what about you two? Do you think I really dare not deal with you if Emperor Zun intercedes for you? God's plea. No, Tianzuan just left. Of course, at this time, Yunwoo and Long Qingxie naturally won't pick them out, but wait for the words behind the god. You broke the seal of the demon clan, so I want you to seal it again in the shortest time. Seal the demons again? It's a joke. Don't talk about the evil of dragon, even Cloud Dance can't help but want to sneer. It is said that the seal of the demons used the hand of the Protoss last time. Now, they're going to seal it again. Tianzuan, don't you embarrass us? I know that with our strength, how can we seal the demons? What's more, are you sure that sealing the demons is still useful? The voice of Cloud Dance, very light, but very sharp. The seal of the devouring Protoss has been loosened with the seal of the demons. I believe that before long, the devouring Protoss will climb out of the earth. Now to seal the demons, is it really useful? Of course not. And he that words, don't be equal to let the demon clan resist the behavior of eating the Protoss first? To be honest, Yunwoo despises such a Protoss. However, Hua Xiao's words made Tianzuan and the old men look bad. Naturally, they heard something different. It seems that you are a little girl. You know that you will break the seal of the demon clan. How bold you are. It was an old man around Tianzuan who said that he was angry. However, the old man looked at her with sharp eyes, as if he was angry. It's like she's just met him for the first time, isn't it? What can I say to this girl? She is. Another old man was angry. But before he finished, he was stopped by Tianzuan. With a little girl, there's nothing to be angry about. Heaven's dignified opening. But the meaning of his words was to stop the old man's follow-up. Cloud Dance's eyebrow can't help wrinkling, eyes quietly swept in the old man who just opened his mouth. And the old man seemed to notice the sight of Cloud Dance. However, this time, even though he seemed angry, he didn't say anything. He just glanced at her with a strange look. At this moment, Yunwoo felt that the old man must know something about her. In other words, it's something from a previous life. Although I don't know what her past life with dragon is. However, we can be sure that it must have something to do with this Protoss. To tell you the truth, she would rather not have anything to do with the Protoss, otherwise, she always feels very troublesome. Of course, this matter is beyond her control. Girl, I'll ask you again, do you want to make up for the trouble you've caused? Tianzuan stares at Yunwoo and asks. And after that, the vision obviously turned to Long Qingxie. It seems that he has a very special mood for dragon, but it is well concealed. Almost imperceptible. However, Yunwoo still noticed. Eyes slightly narrowed, there is a deep undercurrent. Tianzuan, before answering your question, can I ask you a question? This words, let the sky Zun finally put the vision on her body. Ask. Can you tell me about your relationship with my man? This problem can make all the people present in a flash. Including the dragon. Tianzuan was also quite stunned. However, he still had the ability to respond to the fact that he was the leader of the Protoss. To restore the majesty of heaven, he just took a deep look at the cloud dance, and then spoke in a low voice, "This answer, you will understand later, now is not the time. In the future." Cloud dance is not very satisfied with this, pick eyebrow way. "In this case, then as well, you say my identity. I have several identities from previous lives. As soon as you look at the old men beside him, you can tell. You can take some old men. And a few old men all know that this god is not to mention. You want to know? But even if you know, what can you do?" Tianzuan looked at Yunwu's sight and asked. "Tianzuan, what do you say to this little girl? Anyway, she's the one who caused this disaster. I'll definitely ask her to clean it up. Otherwise, it won't come to such a good end. That is, such a stubborn girl, it's useless to say so much." "It is." Several old men immediately opened their mouths, and they were obviously dissatisfied with the cloud dance. Now Cloud Dance is more curious. What is the past life? In the future she saw, she didn't see that layer. "Girl, do you know that you can clean up your mess?" But Tianzuan looked at Yunwu and asked him. Cloud Dance frowns, does not agree, also does not nod. This attitude obviously made those old men have a good time to talk and dissatisfaction. At this time, on the contrary, Tianqin said, "Tianzuan, why don't you say it to the end? From the emperor to the emperor, why hasn't the answer been given? It's very urgent. In these countless years, it is rare to have an interesting situation. Tianqin, if you don't guard Tianmen, what are you still doing here? Go back." When Tianzuan saw Tianqin, he brushed his hand helplessly. Tianqin finally frowned, "Can I listen to the answer in your mouth and leave first?" This made Yunwu almost laugh. It turned out that this facial paralysis of the expressionless man, quite a lovely side. Dragon Qing Evil see this, but dissatisfaction frown, eyes scrape Cloud Dance one eye, "Want to see a man, see me. This even this vinegar also eat?" However, Cloud Dance is also very enjoyable. "Well, Tianzuan, just tell me. As for how to clean up the mess, let's see if I can do that at that time." This is not the same as did not say it. Tianzuan was obviously not satisfied with her answer. Several old men were dissatisfied and said, "You girl, don't be so ungrateful. No matter how stubborn you are, you will have a taste of Tianlei. Well, it's said that a villain is a villain. She is the only one who can say that she is so ungrateful. It is. These dead old men are a real nuisance." Cloud Dance do not know why, hear those words, the bottom of my heart obviously rose that familiar and strange repulsion. Yes, some things, no matter how many times of reincarnation, that kind of deep-rooted things, still will not change. It's like, to these old men. The first time we met, we were disgusted and repulsed. So, after hearing those old men's words, Yunwu frowned deeply and looked at the god, Tianlei. It seems that the reason why Tianzuan didn't dare to tell me the truth is that I received Tianlei from your Protoss in my previous life. That's right. How can I be controlled by you again when I know the truth? Do you know how to motivate? Obviously, Tianzuan's face was a little chilly. Seeing this, Tianqin realized that Tianzuan was angry, and Junyi's face wrinkled slightly. He stepped forward and said, "Tianzuan, it's better to imprison these two people so that they can repair the gate of the way of heaven first." Hearing this, Tianzuan's face narrowed a little. Seeing this, Tianqin continued, "The door of the way of heaven is broken, and the demons invade the fairyland. I believe that before long, the demons will invade the Protoss. Even if the water of the Tianhe River is temporarily blocked, if it goes on like this, I'm afraid the three realms will be destroyed." At last, the emperor's anger was restrained. Indeed, in addition to facing the devouring Protoss that is about to break through the earth, we should also consider the broken gate of the way of heaven. The opening of the gate of heaven means that there will be no obstacles to all walks of life. Protoss is a sacred realm. How can we allow any stain to be stained? It seems that the most urgent task is to restore the gate of heaven first. However, Tianzuan's vision could not help falling on Yunwu and Longqing again. These two problems must be solved quickly. No matter whether you can become a chess piece again or not, you should seize the time. Once you bite the Protoss out of the ground, you still need to use some strength to resist. Girl, I'll ask you one last question. Are you willing to clean up your mess? Heaven's Majestic suddenly looked at Cloud Dance and asked. Yunwu frowned, her mess. This sentence, how to feel so funny. When did she become such a small person in this mess? However, I can hear the meaning of the words of the god. He wants her to solve it. Ha ha. Does the emperor live too long and become a fool, or does he really think she doesn't have any chessmen, or can he knead flat and round at will? Tianzuan, as the master of the Protoss, don't you think it's ridiculous for you to let me, such a small man of the human race, clean up the mess left by your Protoss? Well, this sentence changed the face of Tianzuan and those old men. Yes, no one will look good when he hears this. How dare you speak to heaven like this? Finally, an old man could not help but roar. With a strong breath, he suddenly attacked the Cloud Dance. The Cloud dances, the eyes squint. But without waiting for her action, Longqing had action first. The dark spiritual power, the moment of agglutination, directly resisted the strong breath. That's how Protoss treat their guests. Dragon Qing Evil Hook Lips Evil Spirit said with a smile, the coldness between eyebrows but gradually congealed. The old man didn't expect that Longqing would stop him. His cold face flashed a little strange and said, Dragon boy, you don't seem to be a person who doesn't understand the truth. Are you the same as this girl, and you want to see the 3 worlds and 6 roads destroyed? What a big hat. Longqing chuckled and said, don't label me. After all, what does the 3 realms and 6 ways have to do with me? In a word, the old man was so angry that he had a beard. You. Pointing at Longqing's finger, he trembled with anger. Well, they are so stubborn. They should be locked up until the problem of the way of heaven is solved. Tianzuan brushed his hand in anger. All of a sudden, many bodyguards appeared in the void. Take it down. With a word from the god, several bodyguards want to go forward to catch the Cloud Dance and the dragon. Lead the way, we'll follow. Longqing whisks away those bodyguards who want to touch the Cloud Dance, cold voice way. The bodyguard took a look at Tianzuan. He didn't start until Tianzuan acquiesced. In that way, Yunwu and Longqing left with the guards. In other words, he was put in prison. When Tianqin saw this, he said respectfully to Tianzuan, Tianzuan, his subordinates have gone down to guard Tianmen. Well, go. Tianzuan had no choice but to brush his hand. In the twinkling of an eye, on the whole hall, only the emperor and some old men were left. Tianzuan, what should we do about this? It seems that the girl is not easy to control, and the boy is also bad. Yes, if both of them are out of control, it's a future trouble to keep them. The words of the 2 old men chilled the dignity of the emperor. What do you suggest? Instead, send them into the reincarnation pool and wash away their memories. One of the old men suggested. But this proposal, another old man did not agree. If we wash away their memory, I'm afraid even their power will disappear. Now we have no time to wait for them to grow up. Yes, it's too risky. It's estimated that the devouring Protoss will break the ground in these days. Without their power, it's too difficult to seal the devouring Protoss again. But as you have just seen, those 2 people have no attitude. Even if they don't wash away their memory, they won't be willing to do it. Otherwise, take out the girl's mother, and she will be willing even if she doesn't want to. But some mothers were sent to the reincarnation pool by you. Are you sure you can call it back? I'll try. Okay, then you should hurry. Time doesn't wait. Tianzuan listened to the conversation of several old men, but his face was not very good all the time. Look, Tianzuan, what's the suggestion we just said? Several old men looked at the emperor and asked. Tianzun pondered for a while and nodded. Well, I can't help it. I can only go to that step. Let's do it now. Go with the permission of the god. Several old men did not delay any more and took action immediately. The god left behind stood on the main hall like that. For a while. He just light mouth, listen to enough, come out. These words, after ringing in the silent hall. There was a white light flashing. Do you really want to do that? Emperor Zun walked slowly out of the white light towards his brother with a similar outline. Tianzun looked at his brother, and there was a soften in his dignified brow. What else can you do? Emperor Zun sighed. Yu said, in fact, we may have done too much at the beginning. If we could open up one side at the beginning, we would not be like this in the future. But Tianzun frowned and said in a deep voice, if you say that, you are admitting that we did something wrong. Don't forget that we are the masters of the Protoss. Brother, haven't you understood for thousands of years? Even if God makes mistakes, can't you step back for the sake of the common people? Step back. Tianzun's face sank and he stood still and gloomy. Do you know what it means to step back? The Lord of the Protoss can't be wrong. Even if there is a mistake, it's also the mistake of their evil. Hearing this, Emperor Zun sighed helplessly. Brother, you say they are stubborn. In fact, you are the most stubborn person. What do you mean, Emperor? Heaven's eyes are cold. Seeing this, the Emperor shook his head helplessly. Forget it, I hope you won't regret it one day, brother. At the end of the speech, Emperor Zun turned and left. As for Tianzun's mood, he had no strength to pay attention. For thousands of years, he has seen their reincarnation. In every life, they will meet and fall in love, but in every life, they can only fall in love and cannot stay together. This is the punishment of their Protoss. However, gradually, he had some doubts about his original decision. Did they really do it right? Is the Protoss really such a noble and infallible race above the three realms? But it is clear that the answer has become clearer and clearer recently. The seal of the demons is broken, the devouring Protoss is about to break out, and the way of heaven of the Protoss is broken. Maybe it's time to respond to the original answer. Protoss Dungeon. Yunwu and Longqingxi, who are brought into the dungeon, still have the mood to talk and laugh after seeing the environment in the dungeon. The environment of the Protoss dungeon is pretty good. Yes, it's better than the best room in the world. Dragon Qingxia and Cloud Dance's evaluation of Tianlao makes the Protoss bodyguards who send them to Tianlao dumbfounded. Is there something wrong with these two people? They are all imprisoned in the heaven prison. How can they sound like they are on holiday? Separate men from women. But just as they were about to walk into a cell, there was an old man's voice. Cloud Dance turns its head. When I saw that one of the old men just above the hall was following me, his brow was obviously locked. The deep boredom is obvious. Old man, I remember your God didn't say that men and women should be separated. I said it. The old man was serious. That look, let Cloud Dance want to go forward very much, toward that white beard ruthlessly pull, his beard to pull off impulse. It's so annoying. But why do they hate him so much? Cloud Dance is rooted in his ugliness. If the old man knew what Yunwu was thinking at this time, he would be so angry that his beard would curl up. What are you doing? Separate them. Seeing that the guard didn't move, the old man yelled. Old man, did I dig your ancestral grave in my previous life? Yes, Yunwu said this to him. This sentence can make Long Qingxia laugh. Little thing, don't speak so sharp, it will make the old man angry. But the bodyguards around were shocked. This human world woman is too bold, isn't she? The elder of the Protoss, how dare she challenge so wantonly? Don't die. The old man's face sank in an instant, and he was still angry. Well, your mouth is quite sharp, so seal your mouth. As soon as the cold voice fell, a sharp force suddenly attacked the Cloud Dance. It's very fast. Even Long Qingxia didn't respond in time and suddenly called out, be careful. Fortunately, Yunwu was on guard, so he dodged the danger, but his heart was inexplicable. Old man, if you can't talk about me, you'll get angry? Mean. Well, it's a waste of my saliva to talk to you, bastard. If not, well, evil is evil. Cloud Dance smell speech, really some was angry smile. She heard the old man mention the word evil many times. The dead old man was about to say something, but he got stuck again. However, from his frequent hearing of the appellation of evil, it can only show that her previous life status is not very good in front of these Protoss. And she must hate these old men. Otherwise, she could not explain why she would be disgusted to see these old men. The devil is better than you, old man. Didn't the Emperor ask us for help? If you dare to make me happy, I'll burn all the stones to see if you call me a villain. Threat, who won't? Anyway, if you don't like him, you'd better piss him off. Not to mention, the words of Cloud Dance really seemed to have some effect. The old man, who was originally full of horizontal faces, obviously bowed a lot. Right. Even if she can't defeat these Protoss, she won't let herself be wronged. Long Qingxia looked at it and began to smile. His family woman really can't get rid of this strong don't lose bad habits. But he likes it. Don't you want to separate us now, old man? I can tell you that I'm not in a good mood and my men are not in a good mood after this separation. If Tianzuan comes to ask me again if I want to clean up the mess of your Protoss, I won't be able to talk. Hands chest, cool looking at the ugly old man said. As for whether the old man will be angry to cerebral hemorrhage, not in her consideration. When the old man heard that, he felt so angry that his brain was congested. How can this dead girl be so annoying in her past and present life? However, he also had to take into account what she said just now. He came up with the idea that he just wanted to block the girl, but he was blocked. But even if he wanted to get rid of her, he couldn't do it. After all, the Protoss need them. I'm not reconciled. Just then, there was a respectful call from the guard at the door, General Tianheng. What happened to Tianchen? Hearing this, the old man turned his head with a frown and looked at the track of the sky coming towards him. Didn't General Tianchen say to go to the gate of heaven? How did you get to this dungeon? Tianchen nodded politely to the old man. Yue Lao, Dizuan is looking for you. Does Emperor Zun want him? How can it be that Emperor Zun has never liked to call the demons since he sealed them? Old man smell speech, doubted of frown, don't understand. Yue Lao. Yunwu used to hold her chest while watching the play, but when she heard Tianchen's address to the old man, she almost choked by her own saliva. Yue Lao. My mother, don't tell her, this dead old man is the moon old man who leads the red line to his lover in the myth of the earth people. If it's the same person, it's really thunder to death. Look at the old man's virtue. How could it be consistent with the kind-hearted moon old man in the myth? It's definitely not the same person. This different world, originally different from the earth, has a space, which may just be called. But when the old man heard the murmur of Cloud Dance, he turned his head and looked at her with dignity and anger. Dead girl, if you don't clean up the mess this time, I will match you with a pig after you are reincarnated. With that, the old man brushed his hand and left in a huff. Cloud Dance is a little bit scorched by thunder. Don't tell me, this old man is in charge of marriage. Hearing the words, Tianchen nodded without expression and looked at her seriously. Yue Lao is in charge of human marriage in the Protoss. You and he will pair up, which is from his hands. All right. Allowed her to make complaints about the 108,000 grass mud horses that were passing by. What is this called? If the dead old man is really old, it will really destroy the image of the people on Earth. Wait. That doesn't seem to be the point. After digesting for a while, Yunwu's face suddenly sank and squinted at the sky mark. Do you mean that he controls the fate of my marriage with my man? 2 marriages, no. Every time we get together, we always have an accident on the way, and then we are forced to separate. The most important thing is that in the future, they will end up with a miserable ending. When he saw the general nodding, Yunwu's first reaction was to rush towards the direction where the old man had just left. Dead old man, you come back to me. If she doesn't pull out his beard, she won't be Yun. Damn asshole. But in the end, she didn't call back the old man and didn't rush out of the prison. After all, the guards in prison were not idle. And Cloud Dance, it's not time to start. Therefore, when Long Qingxie grabbed her waist and stopped her, she just yelled at the dead old man. What's the matter? Do you know the old man? Seeing Cloud Dance's reaction, Long Qingxie couldn't help but ask in a low voice. Take a deep breath. Cloud Dance converged the anger in his heart and said to him, it's the dead old man who is manipulating our marriage. This words, Long Qing evil just pick eyebrow, but don't have much reaction. After all, in his opinion, he was very grateful to the old man, because at least he tied him to her. If he could meet this little thing, it would be enough for him to give the old man a good face. But Cloud Dance behind a word, but let him face a heavy. Do you know that our marriage can only meet but not stay together? In the future, when the catastrophe was prevented, the husband died and the son scattered. Speaking of the last sentence, Yunwu is almost gnashing her teeth. Long Qingxie's face was very gloomy. At this time, he understood why the cloud ball was so emotional when he saw the old man. Damn it. The Protoss used them as chess pieces, but gave them such an end. Can really be a bridge And Cloud Dance just said it was in the process of preventing that catastrophe. The great disaster, the demons? Or the Protoss? Long Qingxie asked gravely. The Cloud danced to sweep the eye sky trace, pondered for a while, poor also not to avoid. Walking into the cell and sitting on the stone bed, he spoke indifferently, the killing war of the demons, the biting Protoss, the Terrans, and the three races. What about the Protoss? Long Qingxie frowned and asked the key point. Cloud Dance thought of what, can't help but sneer when the hook lip. Immediately, then the sarcastic eye falls on the body of that day trace, even swept the bodyguard that pretends to have no facial expression around. Nature shrinks behind. It's a turtle. That words, obviously cause all-around dissatisfaction, cold and fierce eyes. On the contrary, Tianqin's paralyzed face was a little strange, but not dissatisfied, but confused. The Protoss is the god who dominates the three realms. Why don't you do it? Do you believe what I say about the future? Smell speech, Cloud Dance does not answer rhetorical questions. The sky trace face has no facial expression of looked at her one eye, finally saw a dragon to incline evil one eye again, finally, continue the mouth of facial paralysis. I don't believe it, because if I do, I will do it. This is an interesting answer. Cloud Dance pick eyebrow to see to him, once again serious a few minutes look at him. Your name is General Tianqin. I think Tianzuan and Dizuan have a special attitude towards you. Are you really just a general? Tianqin nodded, guard the gate of heaven that you broke. This is a bit embarrassing. Fortunately, this thick skin has always been the expertise of Cloud Dance and Dragon Qingxie, ignoring the embarrassment. Then I'm sorry for breaking your job. You haven't answered. Why didn't the Protoss fight in the war you said? This answer, Dragon Qingxie also some want to know. Even the bodyguards, who were spying around, were full of doubts. Cloud Dance didn't answer immediately, but quietly watched that day mark for a while, just hook lip light smile way. Because of biting Protoss. Eating Protoss. Is that the only reason? How can it be? Is the Protoss above scared by a so-called devouring Protoss? This answer is obviously unacceptable. Seeing the appearance of Tianqin frowning and disbelieving, he and the guards around, who also didn't believe in his face, danced in the clouds and sneered. It seems that your god and emperor did not tell you that this devouring Protoss is the alien race that specially restrains and devours your Protoss. Yes, if you want to take charge of the whole Protoss safely, some things are not easy to publicize. Devouring Protoss is an example. See only, Cloud Dance that words fall, all around bodyguard obvious mood became some ups and downs. And the day mark, also brow deep lock up. After that, the trace of heaven was gone. As for the guards of the heavenly prison, it is still impossible to say anything. Suddenly, there was silence in the dungeon. Long Qingxia held her in his arms, gently touched her nose, spoiled her and said in a low voice, "You dare to say that you are not afraid of Emperor Zun's trouble that day. What are you afraid of? Aren't you still here?" Back to embrace him, comfortable nest into his strong arms. I haven't felt this feeling for a long time. But in fact, she was eager to get the story around. Protoss, an absolutely arrogant race. As long as the Protoss can have some civil strife, that's their chance. Long Qingxia looked at the woman in his arms, and his eyes were full of doting and pity. Two people hand in hand passed so long, how can he not know her careful thought? It's just, is the Protoss so easy to cause chaos? This is really unpredictable. However, as long as he is still alive, she will not be hurt at all. Later, stay by my side, do you hear me? Well, I'm sure I'll stay by your side. Nothing can be separated from us. The next day, a rumor spread quickly in the Protoss. And the message of that message contains the devouring Protoss. The Protoss, which was originally quiet and dignified, seems to have a little disturbance. Especially in the next few days. Gradually, news came from the outside world that the gate of heaven could not be repaired, and the flood from heaven had begun to submerge the three realms, and people began to complain. Terran began to dissatisfy with the gathering of people. The demons also gradually want to break through the flood and invade the Protoss. The devouring Protoss under the earth also have a big movement about to break the ground. A series of turbulence are reminding the Protoss, human catastrophe is about to begin. Above the hall. Just like the emperor in the world. At this time, in the hall, there are many Protoss dressed in officials, and the god is sitting on top of you. When Tianzuan heard that series of reports, his face was ugly. Son of a bitch, who on earth dares to gather people to rebel against God? A roar, accompanied by a strong sense of anger. Tianzuan, don't be angry. The strength of the human race is weak, but it's not afraid. However, if the water of the Tianhe River descends to the lower boundary, it may really submerge the three boundaries. A man in civil service uniform said respectfully. Yes, Tianzuan, if we don't find a way to repair the gate of the way of heaven as soon as possible, we are afraid that the three realms will be destroyed in the hands of our Protoss. Tianzuan, the Terran is created by the Protoss. If it's destroyed in this way, it's not worth the loss. Tianzuan, please find a way as soon as possible. In the words of the Protoss, there is obviously some uncertainty. That's right. After thousands of years of peace, I didn't expect that once an accident happened, it would lead to the havoc of 3 circles and 6 roads. It's too serious. In particular, I heard that biting the Protoss was the natural enemy of the Protoss. How can this not let the Protoss people start to be a little uneasy? Tianzuan was already in a state of anxiety. When he heard the chatter in the hall, he was even more angry. However, the main hall is not a place to get angry. This time in the early days, there was still no effective way. In the end, Tianzuan could only brush his hand and let people leave. I just left. Then the bodyguard came to report, Tianzuan, Emperor Zun sent a message that he wanted you to go to Tianjing Pavilion. Tianjing Pavilion? Isn't that the place to watch the reincarnation of the human soul? Tianzuan frowned, some did not understand what his brother wanted to do. Well, step back. Yes, after the bodyguard retreated, Tianzuan got up and went to the mirror pavilion that day. However, as soon as I walked out of the hall, I saw Yue Lao coming in a hurry. Heaven, it's not good. What's the matter? What is it like to be so impatient? Tianzuan frowned and scolded angrily. Yue Lao can only stabilize the mood, but the delicious kiss is still a little urgent. That seal, the last seal of the Protoss, was just broken. What Tianzuan's face was so ugly that he could not keep his dignity. According to the strength of the seal, it can last for several days at least. How could it be broken at this time? If the last seal is forced, the devouring Protoss will break out of the earth. Damn it. Originally everything was in control, but now it's all in chaos. Who's in the way? Seeing that Tianzuan was so angry and the breath around him was so terrible, Yuelao's face turned pale. Yes, the demons. The demons? Hearing the words, the emperor's eyes were frightfully cold. The word goes on, stop the water of the Tianhe River, mobilize 100,000 troops to guard the gate of the way of heaven. Once the demons invade, they will be killed. Good. It was a deal with the demon. Now that the demon clan is so ignorant, don't blame him for not being merciful. After hearing this, Yuelao immediately understood Tianzuan's plan. Eyes bright, quickly nodded, okay, I'll do it now. By the way, Tianzuan, what should we do if the two evils refuse to cooperate? It's still useful. Don't move for a while. On hearing this, the old man nodded, yes. Come on, let's go down and give orders. Under Tianzuan's hands, Yuelao left in a hurry. Soon after, the whole Protoss began to stir up a stir. Tianjing Pavilion. Why are you here now? Looking at the Tianzuan who came in, Emperor Zun asked with a slight frown. Tianzuan said in a deep voice, just heard the news, the final seal of Seal Bite Protoss has been broken. When Emperor Zun heard the speech, he was not surprised, though he was a little stunned. It's just a matter of time. Hearing his gentle tone, Tianzuan was a little annoyed. Emperor Zun, what's the matter with you for thousands of years? The seal of devouring Protoss has been broken. You know what it means. How can you say that in such a tone? Emperor Zun raised his mouth a little funny. Or what tone shall I use? I knew thousands of years ago that there would be such a consequence, but now it has finally arrived. Do I have to say it in a very surprised tone? Seeing that Tianzuan didn't accept it, Emperor Zun sighed. Brother, when are you going to wake up? We shouldn't have done that in the beginning. We were all wrong. Shut up. If you call me here just to tell me that, there's no need. With that, Tianzuan wanted to walk away. The emperor stopped him. I know you are stubborn. You won't listen to me, and I won't tell you any more. However, I asked you to come to Tianjing Pavilion to show you this. At the end of the speech, a light blue spiritual power disperses from his brushing hand only to see that the originally ordinary attic is suddenly transformed into a channel of countless mirrors. Tianzuan glanced and frowned. Nothing special. What's good to see? Take a closer look. After hearing the words, Tianzuan slowly stepped forward, and his eyes fell on those mirror channels interspersed with countless pictures. But soon, his pupils shrank and a surge of shock and disbelief rose in his eyes. What's the matter? How can Samsara and Kunlun mirror split? What's going on? Since the creation of human beings by the Protoss, the Samsara and Kunlun mirror, which can see the past and present, have naturally formed. This is born in response to heaven and earth. But now the Samsara road and Kunlun mirror are split. What does it mean? Will the Terran be destroyed? Or is there another moral? Whatever it is, it's not what he wants to see. Tianzuan looked at Dizuan, and for the first time he had a trace of fear. What's the matter? Don't say nothing. You've been here for almost half of the 1,000 years. You must know something. Brother, don't you understand what I just said? Emperor Zun frowned at him. It can be seen that Tianzuan didn't realize it. At last, Dizuan was disappointed. It seems that I can only go by myself. What? Tianzuan didn't react at all, so he saw the figure of Emperor Zun jump down the path of reincarnation with the biggest crack. Brother, God will also make mistakes. Don't be stubborn anymore. I hope that my sacrifice can buy you some time, and it can be regarded as a little forgiveness for the mistakes I made at the beginning. When the last word falls, a dazzling light suddenly erupts from Tianjing Pavilion. At that moment, the whole Protoss seemed to be bathed in the light. But the gods changed their faces. The light of the origin of Emperor Zun. Has the Emperor passed away? What's the matter? What happened? The Emperor, who was watching the emperor's sacrifice, was shocked. Cannot give him the opportunity to react, left him only the last voice. No, no, no. Tens of thousands of years, blood. Although they have been more and more dissatisfied with him for thousands of years, they are still brothers. How could that be? What the hell happened? Tianzuan's face is pale and colorless. Inside the Protoss dungeon. In the past few days, the couple of Yunwu and Longqingxi and Tianlao have had a good life. The meal is delivered and the bed is paved. The only bad thing is that there are too many light bulbs around here and there is less privacy. However, this cheeky husband and wife, but still under the countless light bulbs, love each other. Every now and then, the scene of intimacy will make God feel ashamed of it. Of course, the scale is certain. But today, the couple is still tired of leaning on the bed, enjoying the lunch they just brought, but they are suddenly disturbed by the outside. What's the matter? Cloud Dance frowns to ask. Long Qingxia looked out at the small window of the cell, then shrugged his shoulders and said, I don't know, but I feel that there is a force outside. I am very familiar with it. It seems that it is the emperor we met that day. Emperor? Cloud Dance smells speech, eyebrows slightly wrinkled for a while, thinking about the future memory that oneself saw at the beginning. Looking for a change, but did not find the emperor. If I can't figure it out, I won't. Anyway, I believe the Protoss will send someone to come again soon. Once the seal of biting Protoss is broken, it represents the real beginning of the catastrophe. And the only thing that can stop the seal of the devouring Protoss from being sealed again is the power of their integration. Why? In fact, she hasn't figured it out yet. In terms of strength, although she awakened the blood of the witches and inherited the power of the witches, she still can't be compared with the Protoss. After all, the sorcerer is just a piece created by the Protoss. Long Qingxia is now forced to awaken the power of the Dark Emperor. Even though he can use the power of the dark, his strength is still comparable to that of Fairyland. It can't be compared with the Protoss. The ultimate strength of these two people is not comparable to that of a Protoss. But the Protoss tried so hard to control them. Why? Just because they are chessmen, do you want to make the best use of them? It can't be that simple. I always feel that there must be something in it, and it is very likely that it has something to do with their previous lives. It's just that these Protoss are very tight-lipped. There's nothing to ask. What are you thinking? See Cloud Dance suddenly silent go down, seemed to be thinking deeply. What of appearance? Long Qing evil scrape next her nose tip of ask away. Yunwu raised his head and looked at him seriously. Do you think we were all Protoss in our previous lives? Or someone who has offended the Protoss? Why do you think so? Long Qingxia picks eyebrows. I don't know why. When I saw some old men around the Tianzuan, I had a very repulsive sense of familiarity. I thought that feeling must have been brought about by my previous life, which means that I must have something to do with the Protoss in the previous life. As for you, don't you think that no matter the emperor or the emperor, even the old men have different attitudes towards you? Long Qingxia pondered for a while, and nodded her little head with a smile. It's really idle. You've come to think about it. No matter what the previous life was, it's none of our business now. Smell speech, Cloud Dance also smiled to nod, also right. But at this time, there were some hasty footsteps from the prison, and then I vaguely heard what someone was saying outside. The final seal was broken. Listen, it's not small. The last seal of biting Protoss was broken ahead of time. Cloud Dance, which was originally nestled in the arms of Dragon Qingxia, suddenly sat up straight, with willow eyebrows frowning. Just now, I was not nervous about anything. How did I change my mood? What's the matter? Long Qingxia knew her, she would have this kind of mood change, there must be a reason. According to the time, it should be several days before it can be broken, but now the seal has been broken ahead of time. On the other side of Shangjia and Renjia, Nanganji must not be ready. Yes. She has been so calm since she was brought into the Protoss. It's not that she doesn't care about her grandfather and others. It's because she knows that Nangong-yi will return to the upper world before the catastrophe, and reorganize the power of the human race. The place where the biting Protoss came out of the earth is in the fairyland. There are demons and fairyland people standing on top of each other, so for a while, the Terran will not be affected much. But the premise is that before the Holocaust, the power of the human race is agglutinated together. The seal of the Protoss can be broken ahead of time, which means that the Terran side must not be ready. In this case, they will be caught unprepared by Nangong-yi. The risk factor is countless times larger than predicted. What's more, her son is still in the human world. Thinking of this, Yunwoo felt a little anxious. Don't worry, we have to believe that Nangongji will find a way. No, you haven't seen it with your own eyes. Once the devouring Protoss breaks the ground, they will soon occupy the fairyland, and then the upper realm. If Nangong-yi is not ready, the consequences will be. Speaking of the latter, I can hardly go on. As soon as Yunwoo thought of the killing war she would see in the future, her face turned pale. Don't worry. Long Qingxia tried to pacify her. But he was just as upset. As Yunwoo said, he roughly guessed what he meant. Damn it. They can't wait for the Protoss to come any longer. It's not good that their fate is controlled by others. Even if the man is a god. The changes in the divine world make the Protoss uneasy. Especially after hearing the news, the emperor lost his respect, which added a touch of confusion to the gods. But the Protoss is the Protoss after all. Even if they are uneasy and flustered, the so-called noble divine power is still maintained in the Protoss. However, just at this time of turbulence, Tianzuan suddenly heard that it was closed. The Lord of the Protoss chose to shut down at this time. What the hell happened? For a while, there were different opinions. And now the fairyland. Most of the land was flooded by the flood, causing serious casualties. But the casualties are all human. The people of fairyland want to stop something, but they can't do anything. The demons are not afraid of water, and even, on the contrary, they look at the power of God's wrath like a play. When Tianshui finally stopped, the demons began to go to the door of the way of the Protoss. At the same time, the last seal under the earth disappeared, the earth began to crack, and the soaking water began to flow into the crack quickly. In this way, the speed of the earth's splitting is accelerated. Everything seems to be pushed forward by something and is speeding up. Finally, at the moment when the biting Protoss under the earth gets up, the demons also begin to invade the gate of the way of heaven of the Protoss. The sound of killing started at the same time. Protoss. At the gate of the way of heaven, 100,000 heavenly soldiers almost surround the gate of the way of heaven. As soon as the demons step into the gate of heaven, the killing has already started. The holy land of the Protoss, the demons dare to step on it, there is no amnesty for killing. Kill the roar of heavenly soldiers almost spread all over the world. The magic company leads the demons. As soon as they enter the gate of heaven, they are caught off guard by the heavenly soldiers. However, Ben was psychologically prepared and reacted quickly. The blood of killing, the blood of contagion. The magic company stands in the position of the leader of the demon clan, looking at the leader of the heavenly soldiers coldly. When hearing the high-sounding words of the Protoss, he opened his mouth with a sneer. The god clan of bullshit, if you catch our adults, you'd better release it to our patriarch, otherwise, our patriarch will let people trample down your god clan. My lord. Nature means cloud dance. Although in his mind, cloud dance, the so-called adult, is not really too important. However, this is also a reason for them. The Protoss, a race that has sealed their demons for thousands of years, is so arrogant that they are really angry. This is the right time to meet the Protoss. It's a big breath. I'll take a look at how you lowly demons are going to level our Protoss. The leader of the heavenly army snorted coldly. As a result, the heavenly soldiers under his command immediately increased a lot. The battlefield of killing is more and more fierce. And fairyland. When the earth splits and the flood recedes, people in the fairyland are still unprepared, and ferocious non-human and non-animal creatures have crawled out of the earth. It's a lot of blood. Over there is the devouring Protoss. With the bloody smell of death, sharp claws and ferocious face, all show the horror of eating Protoss. Roar. The harsh and angry roar began to pierce the fairyland. At this time, the two factions of light and dark have joined together to resist this creature that suddenly crawled out of the earth. Only, when found that any resistance, in exchange for our torn phagocytosis. The Terrans on the earth finally understand. The demons are not their enemies. What they really need to be afraid of is these terrible creatures. But everything seems too late. Fairyland fell into a hopeless killing. And at the same time the upper bound and the human world. First, the flood caused a lot of chaos, and then there were a few goblins invading from the fairyland. It's still a little late for Nangong-yi and others to summon people to resist. The Terran has become the most humble victim. General Tianhen, how can you? There was a voice of surprise from the guard outside the prison, but it suddenly stopped before it came to an end. Then, a unlocking sound came. After a while, the shadow of Tianchen has appeared in Tianlong. It's coming fast. Dragon Qing evil hands embrace chest of looking at that is unlocking the sky trace, hook lip smile. Cloud dance is also quite eye-catching. I didn't expect that the silent transmission of Dragon's evil spirit and enchantment could be so easy to use in this Protoss. However, the sky trace will appear, which is a little unexpected. The demons have entered the gate of the way of heaven. If you slow down, I may be at the gate of the way of heaven. Trace in the open lock, Light said such a sentence. But the meaning is clear. The demon is attacking the Protoss, and he needs to go to the gate of heaven. Why help us? Cloud Dance asks curiously. However, she didn't hesitate. As soon as the cell door was opened, she left the cell with Long Qingxie. The Protoss cell has a special boundary. She tried to break it with Long Qingxie, but it didn't work in the end. That's why Long Qingxie finally came up with the idea of transmitting sound. The sky trace smell speech, facial paralysis of lift Mao to see her, Light Wei, bite the Protoss has climbed out from under the earth, and the only can stop them, only you. Then you should also know that we will not be the pawns of the Protoss. Emperor Zun is dead, and Heaven Zun is closed. This time, no one can force you to become chess pieces, but... When Tian Qin said this, he stopped for a moment and then said in a deep voice, if you really want to see the Terran destroyed and your relatives and friends die, I can't say. After that, Tian Qin left without looking back. Cloud Dance with Dragon Qing evil look at each other, tacit understanding of the alternative of a look, the figure flashed to catch up. Last time you said that if disaster came, you would do it, didn't you? At the moment of catching up with him, Yunwu asked. Several bodyguards outside the prison are stiff and shocked to see them off. General Tianhen, do you know what you're doing? These two people, but heaven wants. How dare he let people go without authorization? Unfortunately, their inner monologue has never been considered by the protagonist. I'll go to the gate of heaven now. The path of heaven trace. Long Qingxie stepped forward and blocked his steps. Since you want to do it, why don't you join us? Together? Tianqin's face was paralyzed. There was a trace of doubt on his face and his brow was slightly wrinkled. Cloud dances to hook lips to smile, smile to have a silk of cold and fierce, bite a Protoss, your Protoss isn't dare to stop. If you really want to, go down with us. Stop the Protoss together. The sky trace turns to see to Cloud Dance, the facial expression seems to have a little more what. It's not 2 or 3 of us who can stop the biting Protoss. I just want you to go with us and help us by the way. What's the use? Tianheng only cares about this problem. Yunwu nodded, yes, it's very useful. If it's really done, maybe it can stop this catastrophe by the way. Tianqin stares at them for a long time and seems to be thinking about something. Yes or no, if you don't, we'll leave. Well, let's go. Tianqin nodded, then jumped up in the air, turned into a streamer and went in a certain direction. He said yes. Cloud Dance and Dragon Qingxia look at each other, and once again refresh the record of cognition. Is he too simple? Or is it too easy to cheat? This is also forget it, forget it. The goal is achieved. The couple saw a trace of doubt from each other's eyes, but they soon converged and ran after each other in the same direction. They really can't control the Protoss, but Tianqin is right about one thing. Even if they really don't want to be the pawns of the Protoss, how can they really stand by if their relatives and friends have something to do? But, just the two of them, really have the ability to stop this catastrophe? Unfortunately, they don't know the answer yet. Within the Protoss, because of a series of changes, it seems very turbulent. Cloud Dance, their three people, quietly leave the Protoss action, did not cause any Protoss attention. Of course, in addition to the guards in Tianlong, they are still stiff. Upper bound. The team called on by Nangong Yi and others has fallen into a hopeless war. Death, on the increase. However, the battle at this time is different from that of the 10,000 beasts. This is a battle for the survival of the three worlds. Win, live. Lose, die. People. Where do these monsters come from? In order to survive, I have to fight. Yes, in order to survive. The battlefield has spread to the human world. Compared with the fairyland and the upper boundary, the human world is completely in a weak position without resistance. But this time, the main way of the human world battlefield is to come to Yunfu. Today, the three kingdoms exist in name only, and they are united together. When Long Qingxia, Yunwu, and Tianqin appeared, the human world had fallen into chaos. The strong take part in the war and the weak retreat in the rear. However, the fear of death still exists in the whole human world. What are you doing in the human world? With the cloud dancing dragon, the sky trace from the lower world frowned. Obviously, I don't understand why I want to come to the human world instead of the fairyland. You know, fairyland is the main battlefield, and if you want to stop it, you can only seal the gap in fairyland. What's the use of coming here? Just to kill some invading Protoss? In this case, when can we stop this catastrophe? You'll see later. Cloud Dance just answered this sentence. Then she went to the base where the beast gate took root in the human world, followed by Long Qingxia. The sky trace is helpless, also can only keep up. Along the way, you can occasionally see one or two biting Protoss killing everywhere. But they didn't stop it. Even, see the Cloud Army, Cloud Dance also directly across the air. But, looking at it carefully, you can find that her speed is getting faster and faster. An hour later. Once again, when you stand at the branch base of the Gate of Beasts in the human world, it's just in the middle of the sun in the sky. Tianqin, wait a minute, open a gap in the sky for me. Standing at a certain point, Yunwu turned to the mark and said. Just, that words, but let the day trace eyebrow a wrinkly, what meaning? Aren't you the guardian of the way of heaven? I believe that you must have a way to open a gap for the Protoss. What do you want to do? Do what you Protoss always want us to do, but Protoss is the god who created the human race, and it is also the source of this disaster. I want to use the power of Protoss, which should not be too much. Cloud Dance said with a smile. However, only Long Qingxia could see a certain irony in her eyes. I don't know why, he doesn't like her expression. I always feel like I'm going to lose her. I'll do what needs to be done. He stood beside her and put his arm around her waist. Yunwu wants to open his hand, but when he looks at her sharp eyes, Yunwu has no choice but to smile. Who will take care of the children in the future? Cloud Dance did not answer him, just asked such a question. Dragon Qing evil but Hook Lips evil spirit smile, embrace her hand deepened a few strength. They have their own way. They have to leave their parents. But don't you think they're too young? No, they will understand. Fool. Just like each other. The conversation between the two people, as if no one else, has too many overtones between them. It's just that others may not understand. Tianqian frowned, obviously did not understand. What are you talking about? Nothing. Cloud dance and dragon pour evil smile back. However, when Yunwu looked up at the sky, the book in her hand appeared again. Don't be stunned, open the Protoss entrance. Tianqian's eyes fell on the book, and his brow was deeply wrinkled. So far, he hasn't figured out what they want to do. It's not good to open the gap between Protoss. There must be something unexpected, but it will make the Protoss into the abyss. What? General Tianhen doesn't want to stop this catastrophe. The cloud dances to see the hesitation of the sky mark, the cold way of frowning. It's no small matter to open the Protoss. You should at least give me a reason. Why? I just said, isn't that the reason? Well, stop the havoc. But is it that simple? No, there is always some uneasiness in Tianheng. Noon is going to pass. If you miss this point, you have to wait until tomorrow. Then, I don't know how far the Protoss will invade. Cloud danced that words, finally let the sky trace loose. I hope you can do what you say. Hurry up. As soon as the dialogue between the two sides falls, Tianqian jumps up in the air and goes straight into the sky. In this way, can we really stop this catastrophe? Dragon Qing Xia embraces Cloud Dance and asks suspiciously. The cloud dances and shakes its head. Then. You'll see in a minute. Yunwu put his finger on his lip, which stopped him from asking. And at that moment. Jump on the sky, in that instant, just like the dazzling sun, suddenly set off a strong and hot breath of power. His body, in that power, began to become huge. Until the moment when his invisible and majestic body was formed, he suddenly opened his hands to a certain position in the sky with his bare hands. Boom! The roaring sound, with his action, began to rise from the air. Heaven and earth thunder, with his tear, the Protoss guardian thunder naturally hit him. Even if he is a god, he will be hurt by thunder. Cold sweat, slipping off his forehead. However, his paralyzed face is still unchanged, tearing the gap, his hands are still in the force. Within the Protoss. When he felt that the boundary of the Protoss was being opened in the outside world, the faces of the gods changed greatly. Especially those old men. Damn, who is trying to break into the Protoss? Come on, go and find out what's going on. When the old men were angry, a bodyguard came in a hurry to repay them. When they heard that the two evildoers in the dungeon escaped, and it was Tianqian who helped them, the old men's faces were not so interesting. Evil, what a evil. The sky is being torn open by a tall god. As the gap of the Protoss was opened, a colorful light began to meet the noon sun from the crack and began to spill. At that moment, the human race in the human world was attracted by the sudden appearance of the tall figure. But at the same time, it brings a kind of hope. God, they didn't give up after all. Look, the gods have come down to earth. Yes, we are finally saved. Don't be stunned, kill quickly, God is coming, let's not be afraid, kill. Kill. The resistance of the Terran to the killing seemed to have a kind of spiritual sustenance at that moment. It became more and more frustrated and courageous. The sound of Howrans killing spread throughout the whole human world. However, Tianqian didn't pay attention to those, because it took too much spiritual power and energy to tear up the gap of Protoss from the human world. Even, with the thunder that guards the Protoss, he is more and more powerless. However, when he looked down at the figure of a man and a woman, he seemed to have some kind of persistence. In fact, he is not dull, not really stupid, very easy to cheat. However, he didn't know why. Ever since he saw these two people, he always had an impulse to get close to them. Even, for the sake of these two Terrans, the robbers of Tianlong ran to the human world to tear up the gap between the Protoss. It's crazy. I can't imagine why. But he knew that in the countless years he lived, the only thing that made him want to do crazy things was them. Perhaps, it is also possible that because of his madness, the Protoss will be brought into a desperate situation. If he does get to that point, he will go ahead. As the crack grew larger and larger, the colorful light finally seemed to merge with the noon sun. Suddenly, a strong light suddenly shot out from the Book of Heaven that Yunwoo had just taken out. Silent energy, but suddenly burst open. The color of the afterwave began to spread straight into the sky in all directions, like a color light shield, quickly filled the entire human world. Even spread to the upper bound, and at the moment when the human world and the upper world were shrouded, everything around seemed to stop in an instant. Yes, everything in the human world and the upper world has stopped. It's completely still. Whether it's the blood splashing out in the fight, or the action of preparing to stab the enemy. Both worlds are silent. Except for the three. Dragon Qing Xia, cloud dance, with that should also fall into the static time in the sky. Tianqian was not limited by time, so at the moment when he exhausted his spiritual power, his figure suddenly fell from the air. Fortunately, Long Qingxia picked him up. Otherwise, it would be too tragic for a god to be killed. What's going on? The sky trace complexion pale of saw all around of uncanny, frown of sea to that dragon poor evil to ask away. What's going on? But the dragon just shrugged and didn't know the situation. Therefore, the two men both looked at the cloud dance with satisfaction. What's the matter? Cloud dance at this time, just dropped the vision on that day trace body, you have not been stopped by time, it seems that your background is really a little different. What's going on? Is that the way to stop the catastrophe? The eyebrows of Tianhen are deeply locked. Cloud dance deeply looked at him and then said, if you really want to know what's going on, come with me. Finish saying, Flower Purple Yao then slowly toward day book close. Dragon Qing Evil see this, 3 or 2 steps to go past, in her figure is about to disappear in the beam, hold her hand, 10 fingers clasp. The sky trace sees this, which dares to hesitate, also hastily strides away. Soon, 3 figures disappeared in the light beam, disappeared in this space. However, the human world and the upper world are still static. Fairyland and Protoss are not so good. The fairyland of the main battlefield has completely become the land of blood. The Protoss are still fighting with the demons in the face of the invasion of the biting Protoss. And the 3 who disappeared under the light of the heavenly book. At this time, it is standing in a condensed world. There was a pallor and emptiness all around. Where is this? The sky trace eye sweeps around, doubt inquires. Cloud Dance clenched Dragon's hand and whispered, the passage to the past. In the past? What do you mean? Tianqian doesn't understand. Long Qingxia seems to understand, you mean, the Book of Heaven sent us back to the past. She said that the Book of Heaven sent her to the future, so it's impossible to send them back to the past. Yunwoo nodded and walked forward slowly, explaining, because the Book of Heaven was damaged before, it could not send us back to the original world, so I asked General Tianqian to open the gap of the Protoss. The Book of Heaven is outside the Protoss, only the spiritual power within the Protoss, plus noon, it should be almost there. Do you want us to go back to the past and change the future? The sky marks pick eyebrows. It shouldn't be that simple. The dragon returns. Otherwise, when Yunwoo was sent to the future, it would not just watch that happen. Indeed, the future and the past sent by the Book of Heaven can only be seen but not changed. Then you open the gap just to see the past. Tianhen feels that his scalp is a little big. Did he really do something crazy? Soon you'll know. Yunwoo is not going to explain anything. Because she needs to make sure of one thing. And soon, in this pale empty space, gradually appeared a white stone door. That's their destination. Past. What kind of past is it? Evil. This word really makes Cloud Dance have an inexplicable and curious origin. And she always felt that as long as she could understand this matter as soon as possible, there might be unexpected solutions to this catastrophe. The stone gate, as soon as the 3 people approached, suddenly opened automatically and slowly. Cloud Dance, remember the rules, I can only last about an hour, you should as soon as possible. Just as the stone gate opened, the childish voice of Tianshu sounded in Yunwoo's ears. And the dragon Qing Xia and the trace of heaven can't be heard. When the stone door was completely open, the dazzling white light suddenly appeared, so that the three people could not open their eyes and reached out to block in front of them. When the light disappeared and the three men put down their arms in front of them, everything they saw was completely turned upside down. It turned out that their first previous life was actually the first race to open up in chaos. Heaven Eaters. Terrans, Protoss, even demons, and biting Protoss are all from biting heaven. At the beginning of chaos, there was a highly intelligent race in the world. They were a species born in response to heaven and earth, known as the heaven-eating race. However, with the growth of the earth and the passage of time, all kinds of creatures and animals began to emerge in the world. The heaven eaters also began to understand that they have unlimited life and power on this earth. However, they are all men. At first, I didn't feel anything, but for the heaven eaters who have immortal life, years will slowly start to brew a kind of lonely mood. Boring life, become a kind of torture. Especially for them, who live at the top of the earth's food chain, they are gradually tormented by endless loneliness and boredom. Until, they gradually found that the lower creatures on the earth, actually appeared a kind of called female creatures. They don't know what love is, and they don't know what they want to call it. But the most they have in their lives is time. As time goes by, they gradually find that in their boring years, there seems to be a lack of a kind of creature called female. Therefore, the heaven eater, who has no desire and no desire, began to have a desire to create a perfect female for the heaven eater. However, it's not easy to create a perfect female who is worthy of biting heaven. The failure again and again, but let Bite Day clan that boring life a little more interesting. Also let them more tireless efforts. However, as a result, there are more and more failed products, resulting in the emergence of another kind of female like human, demon and beast. The female reproductive capacity, there is a surprising existence. Gradually, there are all kinds of races in the world, people, demons, animals. However, for the heaven eaters, they are just a bunch of failed products, and they don't care about them, let alone the heaven eaters. In order not to be disturbed, the heaven eaters created the world, separated the heaven from the earth, and blocked the disturbance of those failed products. And just like that, the heaven and earth were united and separated from each other. There are more and more different races on the earth. However, those who live in the sky are still clinging to their perfect works and are not concerned about what happens on the earth. Until one day, they finally created one of the most perfect women in the world. They named her Tiannu. It means that, like them, she has the most noble identity in the world. With the existence of this heavenly daughter, the people of Bidian tribe finally get rid of the loneliness and boredom in endless years. In the next 10 years, it was the happiest time for the heaven eaters. However, loneliness and boredom are gradually disappearing, but in the days of the heavenly daughter, a terrible thing has quietly grown up in the family of Bidian. Something called emotion. Once there is love, it will begin to condense into love, jealousy, possessiveness, and so on. Love, terrible, terrible enough to destroy a race. The heaven eaters have no natural enemies, and even have immortal life and powerful power. However, such a race has almost disappeared in a short period of 10 years. 10 years? For a high-end race that has endless years and will never die, it will die out in 10 years? What a thrill it was. But the fact is that in 10 years, the heaven eaters, standing at the top of the world, killed each other and killed themselves. And the reason, just for one, Tianv. They spent thousands of years elaborately creating the most perfect heavenly daughter. Funny. It took the heaven eaters thousands of years to calculate everything, but they didn't. They would become crazy for their own works. The cannibalism of the heaven eaters has almost reached the point of destroying heaven and earth. In that war, the heaven eaters almost wiped themselves out. As for the heavenly daughter, she was injured by mistake in that war. In the end, only a few of them survived, and they were seriously injured. Tianv was finally captured by one of the strongest Yantian men. And the man who really fell in love with Tiannu was beheaded and killed by the man because he was defeated. Tianv wants to go with her. But because he was defeated, he was imprisoned by the strongest man and was forced to give birth to a son. And that son is the first Protoss master in the world. The Heaven Eaters are the Protoss in the future. Tiannu has been imprisoned for thousands of years. Renru, the most powerful man of Tianzu, has never stopped hating him. One day, the heavenly daughter escaped from the cage by her son's hand. It's just that she has nowhere to run. So, she came to the place where her former lover's head was cut off and her body was buried, and she committed suicide. Before committing suicide, he poured his own heavenly daughter's power into the earth and cursed it. He revived his former lover and let him lead the dead under the earth to become the most ferocious and powerful devouring Protoss and devouring and destroying the Protoss. The blood of the heavenly daughter turned into the most poisonous toxin and flowed into the earth. Also resurrected that has become a skeleton of the body, the undead under the earth, into a devouring Protoss, began to wantonly climb out from under the earth. Start killing and swallowing everything in the world. The strongest man of Biting Heaven clan, looking at Tiannu's suicide and curse, seemed to really understand that he finally got hatred. The man of the Heaven Swallowing clan, relying on his powerful strength, sealed the skeleton of the resurrection leader, but the earth was full of holes. In order to appease the woman's resentment that day, he chose to disperse his strength and use his body to turn into mountains and rivers to fill up the land full of holes. At the same time, it also completely suppressed the devouring Protoss under the earth. At that moment, the Protoss began to take charge of the earth and became the master of the heaven and earth. In order to increase the vitality, the Protoss created the human race. The demons, on the other hand, came from the failure of the Heaven-Eating clan. Compared with the Terrans, the demons have broken away from the creatures of the 3 realms and 6 realms. The human world, the upper world and the fairyland of later generations are also created by the Protoss in order to prevent the demons. Originally, this is the beginning of the world. However, after watching the past life as fast forward, the 3 people's faces were not good for a moment. The reason is 3 people's present appearance, unexpectedly with that love and hatred in the fratricidal 3 people completely tallies. But the only thing that's scary is that Cloud Dance, Heavenly Daughter. The dragon is the most powerful man to devour the Protoss. But the day trace, unexpectedly is with that day female falls in love with the man who is killed. All this, how do you feel completely confused? Long Qingxie's face should be the ugliest. His fists were clenched together, and a touch of fear was brewing in his heart. In his first life, was it really like that? Subconsciously, he turned his head and looked at Yunwu. He even reached out and grabbed her hand, little thing, I. But before he finished, his hand was suddenly caught by a hand. Along with the hand suddenly inserted, it's Tianchen. Always face expressionless day trace, at this time the mood seems to be extremely complex, but, the faint anger in the eyes, but obviously visible. Let go. 3 words, as if touched the heart of the dragon Qing evil, not put back a few minutes. Yunwu also had some ups and downs in her mood. No matter what she thought, she didn't expect it to be like this. However, in such a confrontation between the two, she turned away the hand of Tianchen. There's still time. Keep looking back. The sky trace looks at the hand that oneself is pushed aside, don't know why, in the heart empty fall of, but also didn't say much. Long Qingxie looked at her, and his hand deepened a little. Meaning seems to express, he will not let go, even if the original world is like that, he will not let go. How can Yunwu not feel it? To tell you the truth, she was a little confused at the beginning. However, when I was looking at him, a touch of meditation flashed through my mind. After a while, she shook his hand and whispered, keep watching. Good. Long Qingxie nods. 3. Keep looking back. However, when the 3 just saw the residual spirits of the 3, they all entered the Protoss again under the special spirit summoning of the Protoss, and were about to join the world again. The 3 were light and dark. There was no time to exclaim, and the 3 were forced out of the past. In the Book of Heaven, a strong light exploded. The 3 suddenly returned to this world. And also at that moment, all the static beams of light around the world were smashed in an instant. The killing on the earth is going on again. Yunwoo, remember what you promised me. As soon as the light of the Book of Heaven disappeared, the woman's voice rang out again. However, it's weak. In the twinkling of an eye, the Book of Heaven seemed to become an ordinary book without any breath and fell to the ground. Cloud Dance and other 3 people are still buffering the dizziness of the past time and space that has been forced out. But they all heard that sentence very clearly. Cloud Dance and ease over, then go to the book to pick up the income of the space. Then get up and go in a certain direction. As for Long Qingxie and Tian Chen, after looking at each other, they see a kind of two-phase disgust in each other's eyes. Before that, I have not. It seems that the past is the previous life, still left a trace of difference in their hearts. Where are you going? After Long Qingxie caught up with her, he took her hand and asked. Cloud Dance slanted to head to see him one eye, Renru he grasps her hand, tiny hook out away, seek truth. Looking for the truth. Long Qingxie had some doubts, but it seemed that he suddenly thought of something. The evil in the corner of his mouth started up, and a touch of pet drowned in his eyes. You almost scared me to death. The meaning of this sentence is understood by both of them. A touch of light fit, invisible stirring in the middle of the two. However, Tianqian also came forward and grasped Yunwu's other hand. There was a trace of determination on his paralyzed face. I don't know the truth, but I won't go until then. This means that he wants to follow. To tell you the truth, this trip of 3 makes people feel strange. But they didn't exclude anyone. Maybe, they all want to understand what's going on. Because, if 3 people are really the source of this catastrophe, then everything will be solved. 3 people volley toward a direction quickly. All we saw along the way were bloody killing battlefields. To tell you the truth, the 3 people have unbearable pity in their hearts. It's just, no one did it. Cloud Dance leads the way, half an hour later. The 3 finally came to the place of a college. However, at this time, the college has been dilapidated, and even cannot see the original feeling. However, the mountain leading to the inner college is still towering there, and even the border still exists. Today's Cloud Dance, no longer need to open the border token, can also jump straight up. It's easy. It turns out that in my own eyes, the powerful barrier is so weak. It seems that in the face of strength, everything is really pale. As soon as they jumped up the cliff, an old and steady voice came. Girl, here it is smell reputation to, Cloud Dance suddenly a Leng. Old tower. Is the old man with white hair and wrinkles sitting on a huge stone like a petrified stone the old tower? Well, in order to protect this inner college, I've run out of lights. You can only hear the sound I left. I only ask you one thing. Ask her one thing. Yunwu looked at the old man. This time, he found that the old man sitting on the boulder had lost his breath and never opened his mouth. What's the matter? Protect this world for me. This is not. The place has not been invaded, because there is pity, and I protect the periphery, but I can't, the words behind seem to be cut off by something. Did not wait for Cloud Dance to understand, that shrouded in the border around, want to be broken by what? Roar. A roar, like a beast but not a beast, came suddenly from below. Then, there is a kind of scratching sound. Something's climbing up here. When they came, did they see the Protoss biting underneath? But Cloud Dance also hesitated, and a powerful spiritual power rose in the air. Instantly replaced the just disappeared border. However, Yunwu 3 people don't know that at the moment when her spiritual power is lifted and shrouded around, the Protoss biting, who was climbing, seems to encounter something to be afraid of, quickly fade away. Of course, no one saw that. Come on, let's go into inner college. Cloud Dance saw an eye tower old, astringent from the bottom of the heart that is silk strange, then toward behind of 2 men say. Pity Ah Huan. That little boy. It's time to meet. The boundary of the deep forest outside the college door, for the 3 people, is just a small toy, which can no longer constitute any obstruction. So, the 3 soon appeared at the gate of the college. However, In such a big inner college, it is cold and clear, and no one can be seen. What about people? That tower is always guarding here outside. Shouldn't there be any students in the college? But after 3 people turned around, they realized that the inner college was empty. And the tower old guard, just the sleeping little boy in the tower. Pity Ah Huan. Originally thought, this matter Pity Ah Huan can help. But now at this time, they all stood in the bedroom on the ground floor of the inner college training tower, quietly looking at Lien Ah Huan, who was floating in the air. He's not human. Day trace in see Pity Ah Huan of that moment, eyebrow wrinkly of say such a sentence. Long Qingxie glanced at him and said, it's so obvious that you need to say it. Well, the inexplicable smell of gunpowder is a little stronger. Seeing this, Yunwu just glanced at them, and then continued to look at the sleeping boy. In my mind, I flashed scenes of getting along with this guy when I was in inner college. What happened in the meantime? I mean, he's not human. He's a Protoss. Tianheng can't help but speak again. It's just that he's not sure about the answer. The breath of the Protoss. This words, but caused the dragon Qing evil with Cloud Dance a little attention, slightly turned his head, looked at the day mark. What do you mean? Although he has a kind of animal breath, there is also a trace of Protoss breath. Otherwise, how can he suppress here when he is dead? Dead? Cloud Dance eyebrows suddenly a CU, can't believe to look up to that. Pity Ah Huan, you mean, he has died? How can it be? She can still feel the existence of his breath of life clearly. How can, yes, the body is dead, the soul it seems to be gone. The day trace after seriously saw an eye that Pity Huan, coldly say. Yunwu's face changed slightly. How can it be like this? At this time, Long Qingxie stepped forward, reached out and touched the convex stone in the middle, which was just the position of Lien Ah Huan's body. His soul seems to be down there. Next. Yunwu hurried forward and touched the convex stone. And at that moment, a familiar spirit, light from the convex stone into her body. No wonder she felt Pity Ah Huan's breath of life, which came from under the stone. It's just, what's under the stone? She had never heard of any place under the training tower before. Well, I don't want to talk about the strength of the slag before. Let's go down and have a look. Cloud Dance turns to say with Dragon Qing evil. Long Qingxie nodded. 2 people close to the convex stone hands suddenly a force, immediately see the convex stone top was moved away. A dark hole suddenly appeared in front of them. And at the same time, the body of Lien Ah Huan, which was floating in the air, was gradually breaking into pieces. Yunwu was surprised. What did he want to do? But Long Qingxie stopped her and said in a low voice, that body should be just condensed, not in the way. Tianchen also chimed in, yes, as long as his soul exists, he can condense a body again. Long Qingxie gave him a gloomy glance. This now is to want to find the existence feeling in front of his woman. Originally, he was a rival of his level, which could be completely ignored. However, since he saw the background of the original life, the face of Tianchen made him have a sense of crisis. He's always a little uneasy. It's like a kind of fear is brewing in the bottom of my heart. If, in the previous life, he was really the Heaven Eater, and Yunwu was really the woman of that day, what should he do? Let go. He can't do it. Even if he's dead, he can't let go. But in that case, will the previous life repeat itself? As soon as he thought of this, he could not help but flash the look of hatred in his mind, and his heart began to ache inexplicably. What a deep feeling that can lead to. He has the answer in his heart. It is because of the answer that he has this uneasy feeling of hesitation. Just, he can't show it in front of her. In his eyes, Tianchen also seems to flash a touch of complexity, seems to have something, but some confusion. In the same way, he came to find an answer. 1. It's just an answer that allows him to be sure of the flash in his mind. So all 3 decided to go into the black hole and have a look. I'll go ahead. This is Tianchen. He spoke first. With that, he didn't wait for Long Qingxie to say anything to Yunwu. He had already jumped down from the black hole where only one person could enter. Dragon is the second. Yunwu was ranked third. One by one, they jumped down, and soon the three entered the black hole. But I don't know, just when the figure of the three disappeared in the black hole, a shadow in a corner of the human world suddenly opened his eyes. In the end, light a voice, soliloquy-like ring out. However, because of this, he still chose to get up from that deep sleep. Girl, I didn't expect that you finally came to this step. What can I say about you? Inside the black hole. It's a place like a vacuum. As soon as they enter, they are in a state of floating. It seems that no force can be used at this moment. However, there was no panic among the three. Because, just after three people entered, a soft light gradually rose around Ben's dark room. When the light around, three people can see the environment around. It's a palace of crystal structure. Everything around is resplendent, a place of luxury and nobility. However, what really attracted their attention was the crystal coffin placed in the middle of the palace. In the coffin lies a man. A man with unusual facial features similar to dragons' evil spirits, in his early 20s, was as quiet as a deep sleep. And guard in that man's side is a regiment with light ray coagulative giant beast. The intrusion of the three aroused the attention of the giant. A breath of danger rose abruptly. But soon, it disappeared. Because, the faint light of the beast, at that time to see the clouds, it turned into a young figure. Pity Huan. Cloud dance, you come back here. It is no longer a lively and cheap voice of a young man, but a dignified and deep voice of an old man. However, the tone is still the boy who used to know Yunwu. Cloud dance when looking at that Pity Huan, with the man lying in the coffin behind him, mood for a moment don't know how to describe. And the Long Qing evil with the day trace, also is the facial expression strange rise. Why are you here? This sentence is a rhetorical question of Yunwu. When she saw the man in the coffin, she had an answer in her heart. It's just that there are always some people who don't believe it. Or rather, she's a little overwhelmed. At the same time, there is also a kind of complex emotion brewing in the dragon's evil and Tianqian. The three people who just came back from the past space clearly remember. Who is the coffin insider? Tiannu and Tianqian, the first god of the Protoss, are the descendants of Tianzu. Tian's, Tian. Shen is the name of the powerful Heaven Eater. Together, the two names were named by Shen at the beginning. It's just, why is he here? After the death of the Protoss, the immortal body should be buried in the holy land of the Protoss. How can you fall into this world? However, at this time, the problem seems to be redundant. She wanted to find Lian Huan, hoping that he could help her to see if their last life was what she had seen in the past. Because of the cause and effect cycle, if you want to solve this catastrophe, you have to untie the bell and tie the bell. I didn't expect to see that. This is it. When the earth first wakes up, I wake up my memory, and I will return to my master to guard. Pity the voice of the old, low, gently came. There seems to be a fear of disturbing the people in the coffin. However, his words also explained why his human body was guarding outside. Is it true that the inner college, the inner 3 levels and the outer 3 levels of the boundary, from beginning to end, are all built to protect the immortal body? When I think about it seriously, it seems that this is really the only reason. The old pagoda seems to be the tomb keeper. Cloud dance at this time the vision, can't help but toward that person in the coffin saw a few eyes, to resemble. It's almost true that it's a copy of Dragon's evil spirit, but it's also a little different, that is, there is a scar on his eyebrow, which seems to be branded by something. I do not know why, see the scar that moment, her heart inexplicably flashed a trace of sour apology. Yunwu didn't know where the feeling came from, but she was afraid suddenly. As if, some memory began to flash in my mind. But it's too fast for her to catch it. Subconsciously, the body wants to move back. But it was found that these 3 people were floating in the air like a vacuum, and their internal strength was eliminated. She had nowhere to go. But she this tiny movement, but let the dragon pour evil income fundus of the eye, stretch out a hand, bring her into the bosom. But when he felt the stiffness of Yunwu in his arms, he felt a stabbing pain in his heart. Don't be afraid, I won't be him. Soft voice, very quiet. However, listening carefully, it seems that you can hear the tremor. He, of course, refers to the original world, the one who forcibly took the daughter of heaven. The sky trace sees their action in the eye, brow deep lock. But he didn't say a word. After taking back their eyes from them, they fell on the people in the coffin. Tianshen. The first god of the Protoss, the first god of the human race. Why, he can have a kind of very strange mood to rise. Want to step forward. The body can't move, it can only float in mid-air. Lian Ah Huan, I'm here to help you this time. Cloud dance convergence from the mind, seriously looking at the young figure. However, at this time of youth, but is a giant phantom of the soul. The expression is nothing, is familiar with the vitality, but a touch of vicissitudes and dignity. Help? Well, I just want to ask, can you see through the souls of the three of us? Pity Ah Huan smell speech, lift Mao to look at them three-person good a while. Half ring, pity Ah Huan but shake his head. No, all three of you have the spirit power that has been specially covered up. You can't see through it. Cloud dance brow deep lock up. How could that be? Is there any way you can tell our past lives? Cloud dance continues to ask away. Yes. How? The cloud dances, the eyes brighten. Ask my master. This word's a fall, cloud dance originally bright eyes suddenly sink down. He's not. When my master died, he left a ghost in the Kunlun mirror. You just need to go into the Kunlun mirror to know what you want to know. Kunlun mirror. Where is the Kunlun mirror now? Yun Wu's question, Lian Ah Huan didn't answer, but looked up to the direction of Tianshen. Along Lianaowen's line of sight, Yun Wu and Longqingxi's line of sight turned to Tianshen. In the Protoss, Tianjing Pavilion. Kunlun Mirror is the place where the Protoss controls the reincarnation of the human world. This makes the three of them enter the Kunlun Mirror, which means, then let's go back to the Protoss. Cloud Dance and Dragon Qing Evil look at each other and say. Then, Cloud Dance all pity Ah Huan Wei, can you send us to leave here? Pity Ah Huan nodded. But, didn't wait for Pity Ah Huan to start to work, the day trace actually opened a mouth for the first time. Wait, can we see your master's immortal body? As soon as these words came out, they were all stunned. What's the mentality? Pity Ah Huan smell speech, obviously see his brow a wrinkly. But the line of sight hovered around him and the dragon, as if looking at something. Half a ring. Only one person can come, you two choose for yourself. What do you mean? Long Qingxia frowned, but he didn't say he wanted to see it. To tell you the truth, his instinct is not to like the corpse that looks like him in the coffin. Even if, that is what's so-called first god, also same. Don't like, just don't like. However, he could not deny it. Two of them as like as two peas, who are almost identical to the girl they saw in the past. Of course, if it's right, this body is the son of the heavenly daughter and Shen. But I still hate it. The emotion in Long Qingxia's eyes is very obvious. Pity Ah Huan brow slightly wrinkled again. Seeing that the dragon had not opened his mouth, Tian Hen said, just me, I don't think he's interested. But when his words fell, the dragon gave a cold hum. However, I didn't really take responsibility to fight with him. After all, he didn't really like to look at the body at close range. Pity Ah Huan after hearing speech, still swept the eye dragon to pour evil one eye, that look in the eyes, let a person not feel good. Ma Dan, he just looks like a little bit. He's not a heaven eater. Do you need to look at him again and again? Are you sure you want him down? Pity Ah Huan asked. Well. I'm sorry. And also at that time, the figure of the god of heaven suddenly had the general gravity and suddenly fell downward. Very accurate, just fell on the side of the crystal coffin, not near or far. After Tianqian stood on the ground, his eyes fell on the coffin man. Nothing else happened. In that way, quietly looking at him for a long time, he slowly raised his head, toward Pity Ah Huan said. All right. Pity Ah Huan looked at him and nodded. In the twinkling of an eye, the sky trace figure has risen. While sending Yunwu 3 out of the black hole, Lien Ah Huan suddenly stares at Yunwu and says. I hope in the future, you don't break in without authorization, it will disturb my master. Say it. 3 people only feel in front of a body empty. When the time passed, the 3 had just stood outside the black hole, and the black hole was covered by the convex stone. Just then the broken and dissipated Pity Ah Huan's body floated over the convex stone, sleeping peacefully. Is it time to return to the Protoss? The sky trace, turn head toward Cloud Dance to open mouth to ask away. Cloud Dance, but after deeply seeing Pity Ah Huan, just shook head. Go back yourself. A word, but let the other 2 people Zheng. Isn't it true that we need the Kunlun mirror of the Protoss to know the answer? Cloud Dance at this time, turn ahead to see to Long Qing Xia, can you leave first, I talk with him a few words. Dragon Qing evil smell speech, brow deeply lock, but, finally he nodded. I'll wait for you outside the college. With that, he couldn't help looking at Tianqian, then turned around and left first. Until he came out of the training tower, Yunwu slowly turned his head, swept the sky mark, and then continued to look at the body of Lian Awen. However, she did not speak. Silence spread in the cultivation tower. Tianqian has been waiting for her to speak, but after waiting for a long time, he didn't know that she wanted to talk to him, but she was just sending Long Qingxia to leave first. What do you want to do? These words, say from the sky trace mouth, some inexplicable feeble feeling. Yunwu then turned his head and looked at him, and his voice was cold and indifferent. What do you mean? The sky trace frowns. Yunwu looked at him deeply for a long time, then reached out and touched the convex stone again. At that moment, the convex stone opened automatically. The black hole appears again. However, it's different from the dark, but it can be seen in the picture below. Let's go down together. Said Cloud Dance's figure first one step volleyed jumps down. This time, there is no obstruction in the air, and the vacuum is directly down to earth. After the Cloud Dance falls to the ground, the sky trace following behind also falls to the ground at the same time. This time, Pity Ah Huan didn't turn into you, but quietly surrounded by the crystal coffin. Cloud Dance, you are still as smart as before. The old and deep voice came faintly. Cloud Dance slightly hook lips a smile, looking at that Pity Ah Huan, you said so obvious, how can I forget the secret between us at the beginning? At the beginning, in order to take out the high-level martial arts secret script, what she traded with him was not just storytelling. A small agreement made between each other is known only between each other. So, just after Lien Ah Huan said that to her, she understood what he meant. If you ask him to come down with you, it seems that you know the answer you want. Pity Ah Huan, that beast Mao saw I sky trace, lo say. Cloud Dance nods. But I want to make sure. Pity Ah Huan hesitated for a while, and then he closed his eyes. The devouring Protoss is below, I only give you a time to burn incense. As soon as his words fell, he felt the breath of repression around him and suddenly disappeared. At that moment, originally shrouded in the atmosphere of repression within the college border, instant disappeared. As soon as he arrived at the gate of the inner college, Long Qingxia frowned. What's the matter? The disappearance of the boundary does not mean that what is happening inside. Cloud Dance. Thinking of his own woman, Long Qingxia is not calm. He turns around and is ready to return to the cultivation tower. Can just step out of the pace, but soon stopped. He should believe her. No matter what she does, he should believe her. This thought gradually took the place of his restless anxiety, and his steps took back. Just wait for her here. Wait for her. Therefore, Long Qingxie turned around again and stood at the door of the inner college, just like the seat door. As for the lower part of the inner college, the Protoss who had been set up by Cloud danced to retreat. It seems to sense something. Unexpectedly, he began to roar excitedly, as if calling his companions nearby to invade towards the high mountain of inner college. The boundary of repression disappears, and the spirit of the Protoss rising from the sky may not be seen in the eyes of ordinary people. However, in the eyes of those who devour the Protoss and even become high gods, it is a colorful light with extremely pure immortal chi, extremely attractive. At that moment, both hermits in the human world and experts in other worlds seemed to feel it. Even the divine breath went straight into the Protoss. This is it, like the breath of God? What's going on? In order to deal with the demons and the Protoss, some old men, who were in a mess, were shocked when they sensed the breath coming from the sky. After all, the first head of the Protoss, known as Shinzuan, has been immortal for tens of thousands of years. How can the breath of God suddenly rush to the Protoss? Is God not dead yet? Is it possible? If that is the case, then this catastrophe will be solved. A few old men in the heart of a joy. Quickly, report the news to Tianzuan. No, we should go and see for ourselves. Yes, we will go in person. If God Zun is still alive, we should go in person and ask him back. What nonsense, hurry up. And the black hole at this time. Because Lian Huan temporarily closed the boundary of repression, the immortal body in the crystal coffin naturally sent out a flash of light. It's soft, it's calm. It's like he's really just sleeping, waiting for someone to wake up. Yunwu came forward and slowly stretched out her hand towards the scar on Shin's eyebrows that day. She seemed to feel that as soon as she touched something in her mind, it would stop. However, when she was about to touch the scar, her hand was stopped by another hand. Follow her hand and look around. Sky trace. Cloud Dance looked at him, that beautiful face finally slightly raised a touch of radiant, very light, but very cold. It seems that you have something in mind. Mark brow is frowning, that always facial paralysis face, many a put on complex. Why did you find out? As he spoke, he let go of her hand. However, it still prevented her from touching the body of the man in the coffin. Seeing this, Yunwu turned around and looked at him with her arms around her chest. Your Protoss, the master of human reincarnation, is just a appearance. Isn't it too simple for you, Protoss? But just now, you were obviously a little against him. Tianhen's voice was a little low. Cloud Dance smell speech, also seemed to understand before his silk strange. I'm afraid that man is a little sad. Stupid. However, in the face of the sky trace, she was still indifferent to hook her lips, rather than smile. That's because I'm not suitable for him. That face is like the people in the coffin. Why? It's the same appearance, why do you still find it in such a short time? Are you really that sure? Tianqin's paralyzed face was stained with a touch of desolation. And the original pure breath of God also seems to surge up, a very unique breath. It's like it's coming from the bottom of the soul. Cloud Dance steps back a step slightly, but the face did not show half silk flustered, but light pick eyebrow, cold way. Don't you understand? Did you not understand why you destroyed yourself and turned into mountains and rivers to guard this land? When the words came out, everything was clear. The trace of heaven is Shen. Of course, to be specific, it should be regarded as the condensation of Shen's soul fragments. As for why Long Qingxie had such a beautiful face, this should be about to ask some old men of the Protoss. Cloud Dance is entering here. The flash in her mind is very vague. However, there are some outlines in her heart. It's no wonder that the Protoss must make her and the dragon poor evil, these two chessmen. Indeed, according to the source of this catastrophe, she is the original author of all this. And the dragon is the source of evil. But is Shen not responsible? I know. That's why I don't know. The sky trace eyes fall on the person in the coffin quietly. There was a trace of love in the desolate eyes. To tell you the truth, it's creepy. At least Yunwoo doesn't like this kind of feeling, because if we really want to count the initial life, aren't these three members of a family? Yunwoo has become a mother herself. She knows that her mother has an inseparable maternal love for her children. However, she was really timid about the son lying in the coffin. No. It shouldn't be her son. After all, she is no longer the heavenly daughter. Therefore, this tangled mind was soon converged. The past has passed. Since you say you don't know, don't mention it. Do you have any ideas about this catastrophe? Cloud Dance looks to the sky trace of ask away. Before that, he asked her what she wanted to do, how to turn it around, she asked him. Only you two can stop it. Don't you know that? Tianqian looks at her. There is a kind of complexity that can't be explained clearly. Just, Cloud Dance hears speech but eyebrow frown rise, then, the vision fell on the body of that coffin's wife. But Tianqian's body was blocked in front of her and said in a low voice, Tiannu owes him too much. Don't beat him. Let him rest in peace. This words, let Cloud Dance mind picture once again a flash. Some headache. But in the end, Yunwoo nodded and agreed, okay, then you say, what's your good way? No. I can't. I'll try what I did in my previous life. The sky trace says that words seem very calm. But the cloud dances but the corners of the mouth smoke. Is this man afraid? What does it mean to try the method of previous life? He is still the heaven eater. Forget it, no matter what the past life is, just remember that the past life is the past life, and this life is the present life. Don't confuse it later. After that, Yunwoo is too lazy to stay here. After all, the atmosphere here is a bit depressing. Moreover, since she could not touch Shin's body that day, she could not be sure what the memory flashed through her mind. However, it should be closely related to her guess. In that case, forget it. No more. But Yunwoo didn't expect that as soon as she turned around and was ready to leave, a force of imprisonment from the air suddenly stopped her. What happened? Yunwoo opened her eyes and wanted to turn her head, but she couldn't move. Tianqian, what do you mean? At this time, Tianqian came slowly towards her, but at this time, there was a diffuse gloom on her expressionless face. It's very light, but it gives people a deep feeling after some years. He went to Yunwoo and slowly reached out his hand and gently stroked her fair and beautiful cheek. The cool touch doesn't seem offensive. Just, Cloud Dance facial expression is unusual however not good, cold lie rises in the eye, what do you want to do? Damn it. She didn't feel his sneak attack at all. What's the matter? Does he want to repeat the first life after his memory is restored? Tianqian's dark eyes were very deep, which made people confused about what he was thinking at this time. The hand caressing Yunwoo's face didn't do much. Just like that, quietly pasted on her face, seems to have a kind of attachment. But soon, he took back his hand. At this time, the emotion on his face has covered a cold, is that all emotions have disappeared to the merciless. Don't worry, I won't do anything to you. However, for the sake of that man, you abandoned your husband and son, and even didn't hesitate to use your son to achieve your goal. I just want to make sure that your life is the same. You wait. I'll bring your son here. I want to see for myself how you choose between that man and your son now. That words, like a bell, suddenly sounded in the head of Cloud Dance. Shock Cloud Dance, for a moment only feel tinnitus dazzled, half a day to digest the meaning of his words. When the reaction comes over, the figure of Tianqian has already left in the air at a strange speed towards the cave entrance. And she's settled. Tianqian. Yunwoo's face changed and he yelled. The spirit power in her body also tried to break through the power that trapped her body. However, when she clearly felt that the power that trapped her began to loosen. The giant beast protecting the coffin has opened its eyes. And at that moment, the lost border suddenly rose again. Cloud Dance only feels that the power on the body suddenly disappears. Damn it. Pity, Huan, come and help me. Cloud Dance can only hastily urge Chao Lian Huan to ask for help. But which once thought, pity Huan, but after looking at her body which was fixed, shook her head and said, can't do it. There's nothing I can do about it. Untie the power of the border around you. I can break through the technique of imprisonment myself. Pity Huan still shook his head and sighed, I have just told you that I will only give you a piece of fragrant time. When time goes by, I can do nothing. That makes Yunwu more anxious. Is she really going to be trapped here and see with her own eyes that Qinjin takes dragon to threaten her with her son? Pity, Huan, even if you can't untie the border, can you help me to untie my trap? No. You can't be helpless, can you? Master's power, I really can't help it. With that sentence, Lian Huan seemed to be worried that she would ask for help from him again. He just closed his eyes and wanted to go to sleep. This son of a bitch. Yunwu was a little crazy when he looked at it. Especially when I think of going out that day, I may go to catch her son first, and I am very anxious. Although her son is protected by Nanganji, the strength of Tianqian is absolutely beyond Nanganji's control. Especially in such a turbulent period. Long Qingxie doesn't know if he will feel that she is trapped here now, damn it. But I don't know. At this time, at the gate of the inner college, the dragon was not idle, and was eating the Protoss with a pair of these 5. These devouring Protoss are coming too quickly. Didn't give him time to react at all. In order not to disturb the women inside, Long Qingxie blocked them at the door. In fact, although the shape of biting Protoss is too ferocious and terrifying, they are all in human form. But it's bigger than a person. Rotten bones, ferocious image, plus too fierce and bloody, the standard is the representative of the villain. Moreover, the power of biting Protoss is too strong, and the self-healing ability of the body is too strong. Although the dragon's evil spirits can be stopped, they can't be eliminated at all. Why are you still in a daze? Come and help. As soon as he saw the appearance of Tianqian, Long Qingxie called out. However, he also noticed that the cloud dance behind Tianqian didn't follow. And she? On the one hand, he confronts the biting clan, and on the other hand, he is not embarrassed by the inquiry, but he can't get away for a while. But Tianqian didn't answer any of his questions. The eyes inexplicably deep looked at him, and then the figure quickly jumped up in the air, and disappeared in the air when Long Qingxie didn't react at all. Damn it, what the hell? Dragon Qing evil low curse A, heart bottom uneasy spread. What happened to Yunwu? He wanted to rush to the training tower immediately, but he couldn't get away without solving the 5 devouring Protoss. For a time, Yunwu was trapped, and Long Qingxie couldn't get away. Such a situation, no one thought. Upper bound. Not far from the Phoenix, a big war has been going on for a long time. Nangong Yi and others are in this war. In the upper world, in a very short time, the devouring Protoss have invaded everywhere, and the only force that can resist is now gathered around the Phoenix. Phoenix became the only way to resist. Because, biting Protoss seems to be afraid of fire. However, although they are afraid of fire, they can't be killed by fire. So, gradually, the Phoenix is the only way to have a safe rest for the time being, and the war revolves around the resistance of the Phoenix. If it goes on like this, I'm afraid it won't last long. Yes, those ghosts can't be beaten to death, and they seem to be tireless. If we go on like this, we really have no way back. Nangong Yi, Shengguan and others were sitting in the same camp at this time. Their faces were pale one by one. It was obvious that they were overused. This is the temporary camp place on the territory of the Phoenix people. It is also for those who resist in the front to return to a temporary resting place after excessive consumption. Now they can only use the wheel fight. Otherwise, it would have been too expensive. At this time, Nanganji and Hongling retreated to have a rest. They and the Phoenix went to resist. Damn it! If only Yunwu and Longqing were together. Yes, if they're there, there's at least one direction. said Meng Bai. How could those present not know this? But at this time, they should be in the Protoss. Alas! They don't have time to call on the human world, but the situation in the upper world is so bad that the situation in the human world will not be optimistic. It's just that they don't understand. What the hell are these things? If it goes on like this, I'm afraid the world will really become hell. We'd better adjust our interest quickly, and then we'll exchange them for Hongling. Nanganji Lo Road. Shangguan nodded and then sat up on their seats. We started to adjust the interest rate. But at this moment. In the sky of the Phoenix clan, a figure suddenly appeared. Then, as soon as the powerful and strange power arrived, it immediately spread to the Phoenix below, as if it were exploring something. Buzz. As soon as the Fenghuang people who guard the sky see it, they immediately blow a dangerous horn. Someone's coming. Nangong Yi and others in a tent suddenly opened their eyes. It seems that there are foreign enemies. Go out and have a look. Soon, a few people went out of the tent, toward the direction of the horn. The trace of heaven stands in the air, strong and noble. As for the movement caused below, it was not affected at all, and the power of detection spread away again. Her son must be here. At this moment, the trace of heaven, the breath is no longer as sacred as it was in the Protoss, but has a strange twist. But it's not clear what it feels like. Soon. His eyes suddenly narrowed, and the corner of his mouth coldly curved. Then, the figure standing in the air fell from the air and quickly went to the holy land of the Phoenix family. Who are you? Why did you break into the holy land of Phoenix? When Fenghuang felt the crisis, she blocked the entrance to the holy land. The sky trace just lightly swept her one eye, then sink a voice way, don't want to hurt, don't block my way. Fenghuang frowned and looked at him, who are you? Your breath is very clean. Why do you want to break into the holy land of Phoenix? I am the saint of the Phoenix clan. You must give me a reason.